is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
It's that time again. First round of the season just a couple of weeks ago. The start of a new era in VRS V8SCOPS. Here at SimSpeed TV on the iRacing Esports Network, we are proud to present to you the second round of the championship, the Sonoma Super Sprint. Of course, thanks to our sponsors, Ezy Finance, Modern Simulation, and supporting us, Oceanic Sim Racing, getting everything together behind the scenes. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box for the moment is Ryan Jones. We're still waiting on Jake Sperry to make an appearance, but Ryan, second round of V8SCOPS, the first running of the night is going to be Super Split 2 once again. These are the guys that weren't able to make it into the top 40. They're the second lot of 80 drivers that have qualified for this round, but the racing is still just as competitive, especially around a track like this.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, these guys, they're about, what, a second and a half off the leaders if you go back to 80th place. So, I mean, they're still incredibly competitive. A lot of talent in this split. And a lot to play for as well. I mean, of course, as always, the winner of this split gets to book their spot in the main Super Split 1 coming up after this. So, at this track too, going to be some fantastic racing.
It absolutely is, and we got some changes that have been made in terms of teams. There's been a bit of a team change. United Esports, or United Sim Sports, jumping into V8SCOPS. Jamie McKnight and Jared Philsell and Dean Thrower among the management of this new team that has been created following round 1 at Montreal. It'll be interesting to see how they go. Jamie McKnight currently at the top of the timesheets in the practice session before we go racing.
And I just noticed Barry's joined us in the booth, so I kept your seat warm for you, Jay. Hopefully you can join Reese now.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much, Ryan, for jumping in at the 11th hour for a very brief moment. So, hello everyone who is watching from all around the world at this wonderful Sonoma Raceway, which seems to be our breeding place for action here today. Reese, this is going to be a brilliant track, but of course Super Split 2 receiving action for us here today.
Yes, indeed. And I was just alluding before you came into the box about the new team of United Sim Sports. Jamie McKnight currently at the top of the timesheets here in the Split 2 practice session. A good opening account for that new team.
Yeah, a good opening account. Some great drivers in there that will want to be looking to make a name for themselves, making a headline in the early stages then of the racing they've got going on. In fact, United at the top of the timing stands for this practice session with Jamie McKnight at the moment. But the likes of Andrew Dyson there didn't quite get the qualifying time in the mix. That was going to be good for an early time. Scott Zaslowski, I'm surprised to see a little bit down the order as well. I think a lot of drivers in this field maybe feeling like they are in a position where maybe this was not quite where they were expecting to be. But as we know, this sort of Sonoma Raceway circuit is a little more different as we look at Harold Stadler, who is currently classified as being in 27th position at the moment in this practice. It is a very, very good race that they are going to be looking to try and have. But as they know, Reese, they've got to have one thing in their mind. That's position number 1. If you don't finish position number 1, United's not going any further for the 2 more races that they have going on here today.
Yes, indeed. It is the super sprint format that we're using for Sonoma. So one short sprint race and a longer sprint race that you'll need to take a pit stop in for the top split. But here in Super Split 2, it's just a 30-lap dash. No fuel well, actually, no, I tell a lie. There is a fuel restriction, and they will have to make a stop in this one. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do in terms of strategy, because this is a track that's difficult to pass on at the best of times. There's probably 3 places around the circuit I'd say are quote-unquote easy overtaking opportunities. One of them, Scott Zaslowski's coming up to right now here, the end of the chute, this hairpin that leads into the S's. It's easy to throw one up the inside there, but you've got to really keep a rhythm around this place. Look after the tires, make sure that the weight transfer is nice left to right, because you need a nice smoothness for this track.
Let's just talk about rhythm here for a moment around this circuit, because you were just alluding to it right there, Reese. Got to talk about how this track has a flowing nature to it. It's very much a case of battling off camber corners in the opening sector, then you head into the very, very fast and ferocious quick 90s and maybe 120-degree corners through the midsection, followed by the S's, and then of course that hairpin to end at the lap. It does feel like a place where you have to pick and choose your battles around this track, and I think drivers picking and choosing when to try and make their moves, when to try and get themselves up there. They're probably looking at this track thinking, well, if I got myself a good qualifying time, then maybe my life would have been a little bit easier with the way that I have to run this. But of course, with the nature of this sort of track, American-based race circuit, very much a case of a tight track to deal with. Walls are in close. You've always got to be on guard. The big S word of safety car can very quickly come into fruition here, Reese, and that could mean that strategy could very much turn on the blink of an eye.
It absolutely could. And safety cars, of course, we have a manual safety car in V8SCOPS in combination with the no escape rule, which means that you have to drive your car all the way back to the pit lane before you escape out back to the garage, all part of making the V8SCOPS experience more of a real-life analog. And certainly working well here as well, because, yeah, the safety car can throw up a lot of strategy foibles. Speaking of which, we should take a look at fuel strategy. You need about 62.5 litres total to do a 25-lap race. But of course, there's a bit of a fuel restriction in this one as well, about half a fuel tank restriction. So the drivers are going to have to come in round about lap 10-ish. I think the pit window will open, and it's only a short splash, but it can make all the difference.
Short splash can lead to a just as quick dash, and that's what these drivers will be hoping, that their strategy coming onto pit lane is going to be very, very interesting indeed. Someone that's caught my eye, who I didn't expect to be down the order as far as they are, let alone in Super Split 2, just so happens to be Kyle Stokes out on track. Kyle Stokes, a driver who really had been on the up and up, a change of team, gone back to Sim Racing, looking for a little bit of pace improvement, but it seems that it's not a case of a happy reunion period after the divorce, some would say. They've come back and the pace just isn't quite there at the moment for Kyle. He may need a bit of time to get back up to pace, with some other drivers doing a lot better of a job at SimG, such as Jordan Ross, who's made his way back, likes of Brenton Hobson, 6th in pre-qualification. Kyle Stokes, he needs to find something here today, because he has, by all metrics of what we've understood from Kyle Stokes in the past, has underperformed over pre-qualifying.
Yeah, he hasn't traditionally been the best on one-lap pace, but he really comes alive in race conditions, which will probably work to his advantage here, because Sonoma, a track with almost no straight-line sections really to speak of, you're turning basically the whole way around. You need to be able to keep that consistency over a race distance, look after those tyres, and that's especially important with this new generation of Australian touring cars on iRacing. Liam Wilde in 10th place on the timesheets for RA2 Racing. Liam is another one of those guys that you would see roundabout up the top in split 2 and midfield in split 1. Interesting to see what he can do in this field.
Certainly is going to be very interesting to see, and I think so many drivers are looking to try and prove themselves. Sean Thompson, another one who maybe has the pace to be up there at the top, but really isn't there for this one today. But there are a whole host of names that want to get themselves to the top, and that one magical transfer spot that leads them to 2 more races and bigger points and bigger prizes, as we saw from what happened just a couple of weeks ago at Montreal to start the season off. It's a thick and fast start to the championship, and these drivers know and understand that. So having a championship which is very much going to be all about how quickly can you get the points. Yes, we got drop rounds, but we don't necessarily want to be using them very early. You're thinking about battles here to get into the top 40. You'd probably say, come the end of the year, if you have a top 40 finish in pretty much everywhere, we've seen over the last couple of years at least, that probably guarantees you somewhere in and around a top 15 to a top 20 overall in the championship, just for the competitive nature of this series.
Yeah, exactly right. And a lot of drivers will have majorly up and down seasons over the course of 2020. So it is all about consistency. It's all about making sure that you finish in the points, making sure that you're classified at the end of races. Because we do know from past experience in this series, anything can happen in a race situation. And we've seen the championship swing wildly in the past due to things that have happened at just one event.
Exactly, and now you start also thinking about track conditions here today, because it is a relatively cool circuit. It's 18 degrees in the air, just 21 out on track. That's going to mean that the tyres are going to take a little longer than usual to get themselves up to temperature, so to speak, which will not be helping that version 7 tyre model that is affected to these vehicles. Something that is going to be worrying, though, is the wind factor. It's not often talked about in sim racing, but it is blustering around from around 14 Ks to about 20 Ks from a southerly direction. How will that be affecting drivers here today, Reese?
Well, this track is oriented on the edge of Sears Point, which is basically the southern tip of a mountain range in California, so there is a lot of exposure to the wind as a result of that. The way the track is oriented, I'd say that would translate into a bit of a headwind through the S's.
Well, a headwind through the S's is going to make life maybe a little bit tougher for a couple of drivers to try and get the moves done. You have to be a little bit closer than what you would be traditionally through that section because of the headwind that is there. But every driver knows that the only way they're going to make moves, the only way they're going to be picking up these sorts of positions is by having a very, very strong start to this race. It's important to get going off of the line here. It is a very narrow start to the lap here, some would say. So, Reese, your expert pick for navigating the opening half a lap.
For navigating the opening half of a lap, it's quite difficult, especially in that first area of the track. It's a bit street circuit-like, the start-finish area. But looking through the driver list, you can't discount the likes of Ben Christensen, the likes of Sean Thompson as well. Clint Smith as well. We could take a look at him and see how he makes his way through the field in the opening laps, but it's going to be a tight one. It's basically the Monaco of SCOPS.
It very much is, and well, of course, much more is available on the horizon for so many drivers, and this doesn't include more than just these Australian touring cars, with the iRacing Esports Network and the iRacing service heading towards week 13 at the end of this week, and looking at a brand new season which sees the likes of damage models starting to come into effect. GT4 coming to iRacing. The only place you can get there is on an iRacing subscription. So make sure on YouTube to like, to share, and to subscribe for more great content that is brought to you on the iRacing Esports Network by SimSpeed TV. But practice all but over here at Sonoma Raceway. They will grid up for positions 41 to 80 based on where they qualified overall in their for 18 hours of pre-qualification. It will look a little bit like this. Josh Pickett will be on the pole position with Andrew Dyson alongside Scott Zaslowski. Starts from third with Michael Skurlock fourth. Kyle Stokes and Bruce Kiley are on the third row. Rob Bowden and Chris Pennell find themselves on row 4. Row 5 sees Jamie McKnight and Jason Hyde.
Sean Thompson and Justin Wallace line up on row 6. Zach Hanlon for Altus Esports in lucky position 13. Tyler Blackburn behind his teammate Justin Wallace in 14th place. Ryan Jarek and Clint Smith on row 8. Reese Keane and Ben Christensen join each other on row 9. Rounding out the top 20, Guy Leach and Rob Harris.
Got the likes of Jordan Gallagher and Scott Gamble on row 11. Row 12, we'll see Harold Stadler and Christopher Kessie. Then you got Stephen Williams, Martin Silvassi, Brett Hender and Cameron Dance. Liam Ward and Torrance Aram make it to 30, but it's a 1-minute grid, so the rest of those positions cycling very quickly on your screen. 38 taking to the start. It's going to be 30 laps of hard-fought action here today as they all look to try and book one magic golden ticket place into the next section. There's the green flag, and let's get ourselves underway. Horrible start from Pickett. Incredibly horrible start. Dyson blitzes through, and look at that, straight through all of them. No, around already in the middle of that. I think that was Skurlock maybe, or Dyson. I didn't quite catch who it was in the early stages. They're getting a spin. Already up to second there was Kyle Stokes, had a great one, and they've fanned out 4 or 5 of them off in at turn 1, turn 2. I think everyone's just about going, but it was a very prickly start from drivers who could not get the start right.
No, certainly not. And Brett Hender has come off the worst out of all of them. He's only just managed to get back going now, but they're still racing down the chute here. Have a look at this, side by side. Oh, potential overtaken. Oh my goodness. That is a KRF car? No, sorry, Jordan Gallagher.
Overdrive.
Yeah, overdrive. Making a mistake there at the chute, and very close walls there. Oh, a little bit of contact there with Harold Stadler as well. Or was that Simon Mazzomo for good measure? Modem simulation replay, Sperry. Let's see what happened to Jordan.
Well, a lot happening off this start, and the motion simulation replay is going to give us a lot more of a look at this. Gallagher just running wide on his own, and bang, nowhere to go on the apex there on exit. Nothing you can do about that. And a yellow Eclipse car there of Jason Hyde just gets a whole meaty chunk out of what is in front. So Dyson leads, Stokes in second, Zaslowski third. It's Kylie in fourth, Rob Bowden Pickett is in sixth. Good gains from Thompson in 7th, and Zach Hanlon up 5 in 8th. Reese Keane up 7th, inside the top 10, trying to get back past Michael Skurlock there at the moment. So, all change at the front. There was no safety car called for that opening lap drama. They all filtered themselves through, had themselves a chance to race. Here's a little look, though, to the inside. Thompson diving down on Pickett, and there's a bit of contact between them, but Thompson has a better run coming through. And look at Hanlon now, trying to steal one around the outside. That is a snipe position.
Yeah, that is. Great move there from Zach Hanlon. So that's going to move him up into position 7. Thompson running in 6th. It's not that far up to the lead of this race because Andrew Dyson only just coming past the pit entry. And in this onboard view, you get a good view of the pit lane entry. That's going to be one of the major spots for action and drama tonight because you have to blend straight off the racing line in order to get that done. Meanwhile, Zach Hanlon and Josh Pickett continue to fight. And side by side in the background here, Troy Maguire for Delta Force on the inside of the RA2 machine, showing how you can get that move done on the start-finish stretch, but then you get that run up into turn 1 where you just lunge up the hill.
You absolutely do, and now you start trying to work out through the turns 3 and 4 and all the rest of them. How do you work out a way to open up an overtaking opportunity? It will help through the off-camber corners if mistakes are prevalent, but not on the brakes into this right-hander. This is the setup corner there, that right, which leads over past the drag strippers. Oh, looking to try and get down the inside there. That's Clint Smith trying to find a way through. On Ben Christensen didn't quite find a way through as a little bit wide in the background. Justin Wallace went trying to find some places, but the front 3 have broken away. Dyson, Stokes, Zaslowski at the moment trying to get a gap to Bruce Kiley. And get this, if Andrew Dyson can find a way to get victory, he'll be the first driver in my memory to go back-to-back when it comes to this series, and already down in onto the lane. Ben Christensen decides to go.
Yeah, very quick duck out there for Ben Christensen. Doesn't look like he's carrying much damage on the car, but probably just looking to get himself out of the traffic for now.
There goes Zlowski, and Trick Esports up into second.
Yeah, making good use of that very wide mid-corner in the hairpin. You can make some room there if you want to. And that's the main reason why it's one of the most popular overtaking spots on the track. Here's a replay then of that move, just diving up the inside. Fantastic stuff from Scott Zlowski and squaring off the exit of the corner for good measure. You'll see them making a late apex through that corner to start off a qualifying lap. Gives you quite a boost.
Certainly does give quite a boost. I've just seen Dave Douglas going incredibly slow down the back stretch, and I haven't seen what has happened to him. He's been involved in some sort of incident as he dives down onto pit road without any real worries at all. But side-by-side action going on. Justin Wallace trying to get past Rob Harris at the moment, and he's having absolutely none of it at the moment as they go into the next right-hand section. You've got the lights behind of Cam Dance and Jason Hyde. They'll be wanting to pick up positions. Rob Harris in the 606, looking to really scrap for that 14th place. And look how aggressive Dance is over the curves. He wants to find a way to pretty much jive a way through.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to be aggressive on the curves around here. You can really square off a lot of the corners if you get your usage of the curves right. Oh, and have a look at that. Big move, big lunge by Jason Hyde on Cameron Dance, and all the way through at the exit of the hairpin. Dance doesn't have much of an opportunity to come back here. Hyde just blocking him off nicely through that narrow start-finish section. Will Dance try and throw one up the inside at turn one? Oh, he has a little bit of a look, runs out wide slightly, but he's going to have to wait another day. That just shows how he can be taken by surprise at the end of the lap.
Absolutely. Rob Bowden has come down in. He will be making his pit stop then, and is one of the first drivers to do so on lap 6 out of 40 here at Sonoma. So that's going to be a very, very interesting scenario for Rob Bowden to see whether his strategy card is going to be working immediately. Gap at the front, 1.4 seconds at the moment for Andrew Dyson. He's pulling away at a rate of 0.2 a lap. Someone who isn't pulling away right now is Zach Hanlon. He's the fastest man on track at the moment, looking to find a way past Bruce Kiley, who he caught by almost a second on that lap going by on the brakes. Cannot quite find a way through there down at the hairpin, but there will be better opportunities later on in this race.
There certainly will be, especially as the tyres go off. It takes about 3 or 4 laps for the tyres to get up to temperature, so these guys are only just experiencing the maximum of what their cars can do at the moment. I'll just make a little note. Ben Christensen, it turns out it may be a retirement because he has not come back out of the pits. Have a look at Hanlon. He's massive on entry. Got a lot of confidence in the fronts of that Ford Mustang. And there might be an opportunity here through the chute if he can get that exit right. Looks like Kiley just has the edge on him there.
Yeah, just for the moment, you can see he's tucked up trying to open the door on the exit. He's been so good on acceleration, but again, not quite happening. Bruce Kiley is very much the foil, the kryptonite here for a hard-charging Zach Hanlon in the Logitech G. Oh, to see sports car with a little bit of a wiggle there as he goes through and takes a little bit too much curb and hits grass. Not gravel, but grass, of course. You have to remember that the grass around the track at Sonoma is very much scorched earth, some would say, and you need a scorched earth policy from time to time to get through around this track, some would say here, Reese. It's a case of you can't trust anyone. Everyone must be painted with the same brush.
Yeah, and Zach Hanlon making his displeasure known here. I would like to get by you, Bruce. I will flash my headlights in your mirrors to make sure that you know that. Yeah, Sonoma, it can get nice and green in winter, but in these summer months that this imagery dates from, very much a reminder of down home here in Australia. Kiley making a couple of mistakes here. He made a mistake on the exit of turn 2, sort of leaving the door open for Hanlon in a few places, but he's just not far back enough, or far up enough is Zach Hanlon. And Sean Thompson really pressuring the back of him now. This is giving a bit of an opportunity to Josh Pickett as well. He could recover here.
Reese Keane on the back of this. Jamie McKnight not a million miles away either from this scrap at the moment out on track, so keep an eye on all of these. These gaps around this circuit are around 6 to 8 tenths at the moment, and they can very easily close if you're not too careful out there on the road. Got a car in the wall at the moment. No motion simulation replay. It's going to be up on screen for you as this is Rob Bowden we're looking at, who was right up there, of course. He made his stop early, and I think he had a drive-through penalty because of an incident earlier on. We can see, tyres up and over and not getting that car settled down. Bowden into the fence, and that pretty much sums up Rob Bowden's day for the tanked SRT car. Car does not look like a tank.
Certainly not. Henry King jumps into the pits, and that incident with Bowden showing one of the major hazards of that first turn going into the chute. It's a massive curve, an unforgiving wall, but a bunch of tarmac runoff that you can use and extend your line. Make sure you get a good launch up to this turn here that we see Zachary Hanlon navigating. It's a tight line, a tight rope that you walk around Sonoma, and Hanlon is now walking that tightrope massively here behind Kylie. They're bumper to bumper. This could be a move at the hairpin.
It certainly could be, and he needs a very good corner, or maybe it's a bit earlier than that. Diving to the inside here through the right. Not a place many make a move. Couldn't quite get it done. Everyone being held up. Late on the brakes, tries Hanlon, and the position given. One, and there's a freebie for it as well for Sean Thompson, two. So Kylie loses 2 for 1, but gets a good pickup on the exit. Takes that wider line, though. Can't quite get the move back. So there, up position, Hanlon to 4th, Thompson to 5th. Kylie back down to 6th, but it has cost a good 2 seconds there for Zach Hanlon. 2 seconds, which will be very tough to try and get back over the course of this one, because Dyson himself holds a 2-second lead now over the likes of Sazowski and Kyle Stokes, who Stokes is starting to reel back in here in terms of this one. 2nd position, not out of the realms for Synergy.
No, certainly not. And actually, looking back at Scott Sazlowski's last lap, it didn't look like he made all that many mistakes. It's just Kyle Stokes is able to draw a little bit more pace out of that car. It took 3/10 out of him on the last lap.
Well, sometimes 3/10 is all you need. A mistake often does creep up in from time to time. You've got to make sure you don't make many of those. Ryan Jerrick now fighting for the final spot inside of the top 10. Michael Skurlock is the one having to defend at the moment as they go on the brakes down into the hairpin, but they're side by side in front. Just look at this, Bruce Kiley going at it at the moment. So this is not going to be good, because Kiley right now with Josh Pickett and holding on to position for the moment. That was a case of lunging down at the hairpin there from Josh Pickett, but the Exto Gaming car couldn't quite get what was needed, and all of a sudden Reese Keane wants back on this one. A very strong fight at the moment between them is keeping this race very much afloat for the mid to lower part of the top 10.
Yeah, and it's all about rhythm. We did allude to this in the pre-race. If your rhythm gets thrown off even slightly, in the case that it did for Kylie, then you basically have more than a lap with which to get yourself reacclimatized, and it takes that long anyway. There's Ryan Jerrick through into position 10, taking over Michael Skurlock there, and it seemed like a pretty easy done overtaking move there.
Yep, I believe that certainly did seem very, very easy. So Michael Skurlock then loses 1 position, and that was a case of running very wide under brakes, missing the zone, and effectively allowing about 18 million vehicles the opportunity to dive through that section of road. So that keeps a lot of people very much in the loop at the moment, as the gap becomes 2.1 seconds at the front for Andrew Dyson, but he's hit lap traffic here. It's a short lap around this place. So Shane Evans and Henry King and Guy Leach and Ben Christensen, they are all under pressure to be lapped by the race leader, and that will not be a very helpful prospect the longer that this one goes by for the race leader. Andrew Dyson's got to keep a level head here as he goes through the traffic before his opening and hopefully only stop.
Yeah, and this is the conundrum that you face when you're the leader of a race around a track like this, as short and cramped as Sonoma is. Traffic is going to be a huge factor. So the question becomes, do you pit early or do you suffer through that traffic and look after the tires? It's a difficult conundrum to come to a conclusion for, but for these guys on screen at the moment, they're still very much focusing on each other's bumpers. We're taking a look at, I believe this is from Jamie McKnight's perspective, looking back at Reese Keane, and there is Pickett going for the stop. You see just how close you come to disaster coming onto that pit entry.
Pickett, Thompson, also Kyle Stokes, they're all coming in on this lap, so that's going to be very crucial. They are the first real big takers as they come in. Guy Leach, of course, a lap down, also coming in to make sure that he gets himself out of the way of everyone. So now you hit Battle of Pit Crew Central. It's also down in, you can see there, Pickett's going to be one of the last to hit his box. He will be the very last box, so he will get himself the good run through, also in on the lane. Michael Skurlock through, as there is Kyle Stokes, very quickly putting the power down, getting himself out of the way, and crucially, gets himself a little bit of clean air behind Simon Mazzomo there in the 515, the Texent Pit Sky Motorsports car that's up 16 places at the moment, and a bit more with everyone who's pitted. Kyle Stokes with some clean air. It's going to be useful. Not useful, though, for Sean Thompson. He's had to fight Damon Mulqueen coming out of the lane.
Yeah, and that's worked out interestingly for Thompson. He's the Synergy Mustang all over the back of the KRF, the driver's seat, Holden Commodore. And this is the problem that you face, is Thompson goes very, very wide, and Mulqueen's just going to drive on by here. The tyres still not quite up to temperature. You can't get the max out of the car for about 3 or 4 laps. So you come out close by someone, you're in trouble.
Well, the good news is, with Thompson's mistake, 2 drivers had already dived in as Stephen Varga makes the call for his stop. Reese Keane was one of them. The other one was Bruce Kiley, who came in the 653 machine to make a stop. So we'll see who wins that battle. They came in pretty much nose to tail, as there goes Bruce Kiley right now. Through will go one driver, that's Kyle Stokes making your way through. Up to speed you go. There goes Martin Silvassi, who has not made a stop as of yet, and comfortably getting out ahead and jumping in the stops there is Bruce Kiley ahead of Sean Thompson. So I'm sorry, Sean, your mistakes on your outlap means you're going to have to do it again. Reese Keane stays behind Josh Pickett.
Yeah, and looks like it's going to stay that way for a bit, as looking at Zach Hanlon, check out how close he is to Scott Soslovsky now, within 1.5 seconds. So that clear air has worked out incredibly well for him, and we got to remember their main competitor Kyle Stokes is still getting up to speed from his pit stop. He'll, when these guys jump into the pits, they'll probably come out right with him.
Took 0.6 of a second out to the race leader, did Zach Hanlon there, with a 112 flat. Brings the gap to the lead down to 3.8. The gap to Soslovsky, 1.5 seconds. You feel that Hanlon will get to the back of Soslovsky right now, and his decision should be hit, get himself out of traffic, and then put the perfect outlaps together, because Hanlon is flying without any license to pilot any vehicle at all, as into the lane comes David Mulqueen to make his stop. And also another driver down on the lane is Liam Wild, as they are actually going to go side by side off the pit lane here. Harris is just going to stay ahead of Justin Wallace.
Only just. That's quite the interesting pit exit you see there at Sonoma Raceway. Spat out right onto the racing line. It's a bit of a wide exit as well. Harris fortunately getting in front, and Soslovsky jumping into the pits. Hanlon is staying out. Dyson is staying out. Interesting.
Well, Dyson will probably come in and make his stop once everybody else around him has at the moment, and that is going to be key as we hit the halfway stage here at this track. Lap 16 starts at Sonoma out of 30, and that's how quickly laps come and laps go. No change in terms of time between Dyson and Hanlon. Hanlon could not replicate the lap that he had, but eyes on Soslovsky compared to one driver he needs to fight, that being the 888 of Kyle Stokes, who makes his way out of the Gilligan's Island hairpin and makes his way over towards the start-finish line here. And are you going to get up to speed quick enough? No, you're not. Kyle Stokes gets ahead by a country mile compared to Scott Soslovsky, who's ragtagging his way, trying to get the power down because he was so desperate to get back up to speed, he's cost himself another full second.
Okay, so this doesn't bode well for Zach Hanlon either, because I might have to switch my tack a bit. Hanlon could stand to lose quite a bit here if he doesn't get his outlap exactly right. Indeed, in he comes with Dyson, the race leader. So this is going to be how the top 6 shakes out. We'll have to keep an eye on the pit stop times here.
Yep, this will give Ryan Jerrick then the race lead for a lap, so we'll see what Jerrick can do in the number 14, but Hanlon in at the same time as Andrew Dyson, who should, and we say in inverted commas should, come back out with the net race lead. Stops in the second to last box, and in the 041 car, just needs his stop to be A-OK. Hanlon looked like he was nice into his box as they look to wait to get themselves going. Off of the jacks then goes Zach Hanlon as he looks to go, and there goes Dyson as through goes Jordan Gallagher and should remain ahead at the moment. Look at this, there goes Kyle Stokes finally, and Zach Hanlon comes out behind, but crucially ahead of Scott Zizlowski, so that's worked out for Hanlon, wide on pit exit, but Kyle Stokes in second, but Dyson maintains the net race lead.
And Kyle Stokes has got a bit of company here with Thomas Aram. And this is for position. Oh, Hanlon! Oh my goodness! Those cold tires catching him out there over the hill. That's a huge smash.
That's a massive, massive instant then for Zach Hanlon. It's not what he wanted as we catch the Motum simulation replay of exactly what happened. Heading up over the hill, he goes through the first section. Now you start heading to the second part here. These is turn 3 and turn 3A. He gets up over the curb here. Just takes a little bit too much, and oh, the vehicle snaps and bang hard into the tires on the inside. There is no way to save that. Once you're out on the grass in new tyre model version 7, tires on grass becomes ice.
Yeah, and your chassis becomes bent. Here's Josh Pickett and Reese Keane battling for 12th and 13th with Jamie McKnight around them as well. Good three-way scrap going on here. We got to remember Pickett is still getting up to speed after his stop as well. And qualifying on pole for this race, he won't be too happy with how this has gone for him, but he still stands to look at a very strong top 10 in the midst of all of this.
He certainly does. Clint Shane Smith then leads this race. Overall, he's got to come down in and make a stop, as does Cam Dance and Troy Maguire out on track. Those are the main 3 that have yet to come down and have yet to make that call and that decision. Other drivers, likes of Andrew Dyson in 4th, needs to be wary about a Kyle Stokes in 5th. Stokes has got his tyres up to temperature a lot quicker than Andrew Dyson has, and crucially has the gap at 2.1 seconds last time over the line, as in comes Cam Dance, come in and make his stop, which leaves out on track still Clint Shane Smith to lead another lap here in this race. But look at how this race has started to shape up. Thompson on the back of Scott Zizlowski, which will be for the moment for the net podium.
Yeah, good stuff there. Thompson not quite getting the best exit out of the hairpin on that occasion, but probably just giving himself a bit of space to work with, make sure that he's not working his tyres too hard in this last half of the race. We are coming up on 10 laps to go, so not much time left for the drivers to assert themselves in this field. But you see how much Thompson pushes on corner entries. Zizlowski, it seems, focusing a bit more on exits. Thompson very strong in the opening half of the circuit.
Well, that certainly does seem to be the case for that KRF car, as it looks to try and battle past the tricky sports machine. Heads through the right and does not put the power down at all well through that section. Very unsettled through there with Sean Thompson. That's going to hurt the run all the way to the hairpin. You need to be pretty much running on the rear like Andrew Dyson is at the moment, with Troy Maguire, who's going to dive down onto pit lane and decide to make his stop, as once more Clint Shane Smith stays out and is the only driver now stopping in terms of this battle. But look at the gap between Stokes and Dyson. It came down by a 10th that last time by, and this time 11.8 from Kyle Stokes compared to a 12th lap from Dyson. Another 2/10 just whittled away from the carving that is Andrew Dyson.
And with 10 laps to go, coming up very shortly, if Stokes keeps catching Dyson at this rate, it's going to be on for the win on the final lap, if not slightly before. But it all depends on whether or not he can keep that pace up and whether or not he remains in the optimum operating window of those tires. I mean, you did say that he has gotten his tires switched on a little better than Dyson has, but that also means that he could potentially be running on substandard rubber right at the end.
Well, that is always the gamble that you run in these styles of races. You've got to be absolutely on it from the very, very beginning, and you cannot afford to run into a mistake around this place. It does hurt. Hanlon will tell you that better than anybody else at the moment. Cam Dance, when he came out of pit road, got himself into 14th place overall, a gain of 14 places. He's not out of the woods. He's behind the Wallace and Harris train. And there's Ryan Jerrick as well, who's had a good race in 11th position right now. This has been pretty much just outside the top 10. A case of drivers who've had a very good and quiet race.
Yeah, exactly. I reckon Ryan Jerrick's been one of those guys that you look at and you think, well, he's done well for himself here, hasn't he? You could definitely say the same for Rob Harris too, who we're looking at on screen. He's had a nice, quiet race, finds himself up in position 12 on track at the moment. It makes for some good stream entertainment for his viewers.
Yep, certainly will do, and we'll try and showcase to his viewers that he'll be incredibly pleased with the result that he's getting at the moment. Look at the train, though, starting to form behind Scott Cislovsky, Thompson, Kiley, McKnight, Keane, Pickett trying to stay within a second, Skurlock trying to stay within a second. This is effectively 3rd to 10th at the moment, all in the same scrap, which is going to be interesting as finally Clint Shane Smith dives down onto the lane as one of the last takers and will hand the race lead back to Andrew Dyson, who is absolutely flying on his set of brand new rubbers as he finds himself 3/10 quicker that last time by over Kyle Stokes. And this time, as they crossed the line, was a full 7/10 of a second. Andrew Dyson with an 11.4 is on another planet.
Well, he's switched his tyres on now, hasn't he?
Yeah, you can't argue with that. Sometimes the stopwatch, well, actually all the time, the stopwatch really does not lie as Clint Shane Smith comes out ahead of Rob Harris, and that will put him in 11th position overall, which will jump Ryan Jerrick inside the top 10. The stopwatch does not lie. He's absolutely flying. Kylie under pressure now. Here comes Jamie McKnight.
Yeah, McKnight going right for that move at the end of the chute, has a really good look, but the track is wide enough that Kiley can maintain that momentum and keep himself in front just for now. But McKnight in that 027 car, he is looking mighty pacey. You notice he straight-lined those S's a little bit more than Kiley did. A little bit more efficient on the tires, but it's not working for him in this particular section of the track. His best hope is a big lunge at one of the hairpins. And have a look at this. From a long way back, Jamie McKnight has a look. Bruce Kiley sees him coming and lets the DPR car of Reese Keane through for good measure, or does he?
Oh no, there's only a car width there, and they leave each other just enough racing room. Left hand's going to affect Kiley again, but it's uphill to a right-hander and leaving it on the brakes, trying to pick it up around the outside in a reverse up and under. Reese King gets it all wrong, but can't get the power down on the exit. Can Josh Pickett in the Exto Gaming car? That's going to mean that he's going to have to stay in position and wait for another opportunity to go out there and present itself. But that is pretty much the perfect definition of how to go from attacking to defending around this place.
Yeah, and it's very easy to do as well, thanks to the nature of one turn leading into the other pretty much the whole way around. Well, McKnight is now free of that battle he found himself in for the time being. He's got a massive gap over that 3-car train now, and chasing down Sean Thompson, though, with only about 6 laps left when we cross the line. It's not going to be an easy job for McKnight to get a 4th place.
No, it's not going to be very easy at all, and you've got a very interesting train. You've got Paul Mansell versus Simon Mazzomo, and then the lap down brigade seems to be in case, because you've got Ben Christensen, you've got Thomas Aram in there, Rob Bowden, who's laps down, Dave Douglas is laps down, Henry King is there with Martin Silvasti in a scrap, you've got Damon Mulqueen on the back. It seems like everybody's battles have eventually got into an alchemist melting pot.
Yeah, seems that way. It always happens in races like this when you have a bunch of people that have issues early on, come back out later on. I will say I did call Ben Christensen as a retirement, and I am happy to be wrong on that. It seems he's holding off well at the front of that train, but we look at Reese Keane and Bruce Kiley. This is for 6th place coming down the chute. And Kiley, since his pit stop, he's put on a good show for himself, slipping back from where he was further towards the start. But he's only got one car in his rearview mirrors to deal with now.
Well, the only thing you could say about Bruce Kiley's race, he's had a very good race today. He started 6th, he's in 6th. I'd probably say that the only thing that he's not been able to do is defend the position effectively enough that he doesn't lose more than one place. He's been very pedestrian. When a car's had a nose down the inside, he's left a lot of room. But look at this again. Here's another look from Reese Keane trying to pick it up off the exit. If he can get a very nice, neat run here through this section, he may have a look up into turn 1, turn 2, and he'll have to lift off of it and hope that he can look up the inside. Not going to find that. But that's been the case of Bruce Kiley. When he's had to deal with one vehicle and he's got the car ahead, he can defend fantastically. Once the car is alongside, that's been where the trouble's been for Bruce Kiley in this race.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is down to the circuit as well, because, you know, one small mistake or one tap can throw off your rhythm for an entire sector. Here we go indeed. Reese Keane has another look, but Kiley just leaves him the racing room. Unfortunately, that's one of the points on the circuit where you can hold it round the outside, but time's running out for Bruce.
It certainly is running out, and it is also running out for Rob Harris here for 11th position in this scrap. Got Cam Dance on the back of this train as well, with Clint Shane Smith on the freshest tyres of anybody else right now, just playing that card, playing a nice defensive role. I will want to say on the back of this train, Liam Wilde, first time we've talked about him today, 29th to 15th, as there is another little look there. Kiley and co, not quite there, but that is just how close the margins get.
Yeah, margins close all through the field. There's a couple of things going on around the track that we have to switch between at the moment. This battle still going on for 6th place, and the battle for 11th too. Clint Smith not managing to gap himself versus Rob Harris for now. He's only got a few laps left to try and protect himself from these advances, because behind them, of course, they do have Cameron Dance, which is one of the raciest drivers in any field we broadcast here on SimSpeed. Big slide from Harris, but he manages to hold on to the position just. That is going to leave the door open for Dance here at the exit of the chute. Up the inside he goes, and I feel like this should be pretty easy done.
Well, is it signed? Is it sealed? Do you have a delivery address on this one? Is it yours? No, not for the moment. Side by side they continue. So let's return to sender, see if we can find another way to make the move. Down the inside again through the right-handers. But look at that from Rob Harris around the outside, using superior traction. And I'm sorry, my friend, but the address you were looking for simply did not exist, Mr. Dance. Try again with a different letter at a different point in time. Now on the back, Wallace and Wild wants in on this. Now Rob Harris becomes the bottleneck, and Liam Wild looking to the outside. You're not going to find a way through like that, my friend, if you want to get that through. And there's not long either. There's only 4 laps to go and get the moves done.
Yep, only 4 laps to go. Kiley and Keane still going at it for 6th place. Battle for 3rd as well between Sislowski and Thompson is staying pretty stable too. They set almost the exact same lap time on the last lap. But Jamie McKnight as well, keeping consistent pace too. So it doesn't seem like there's much of a potential change within the top 4, top 5. There is still a lot of potential for change here, because have a look, the train is just growing here behind Bruce Kiley. Michael Skurlock is joining them as well, and Ryan Jarrett catching up to them too.
Well, there was a mistake this lap from Bruce Kiley. He got a lot of curb heading through the chute corner, and he had to really dive to the inside to try and catch and save the car. Was enough as they now push over towards the right-hand bend of the hairpin, and back up the hill they will come along once again to start lap 28 of 30. The gap at the front now is up to what is going to be 4.9, if not 5 seconds. On for 3rd now. Thompson has caught the back of Scott Sislowski, and now Trick Esports cars have to do what Trick Esports cars do best, and that is defend positions.
Yes, indeed. We know that Trick Sim Sports focuses a lot on defense and on strategy. It's why they're so successful, especially in the GT racing scene. But Sislovsky, he's kept a nice consistent run throughout this whole race. Started third and is in third at the moment. So another good consistent run from him. Thompson, it seems, just not able to eke out the little bit of pace he needs to catch up. Sislovsky's last lap, a 13.255, a 12.546 for Thompson. So that was actually quite a big gain for Thompson, but Sislovsky, it seems, just holding on at the moment.
Well, this is the issue. You sort of settle into the rhythm of the driver in front, and that's where Thompson, I think, may have just fallen into. Jamie McKnight maybe could fall foul of the same practice with 2 laps to go around this Sonoma track. Sislovsky close, but look at this behind. Reese Keane catches Bruce Kiley, but again, not close enough to go out there and make a move. Kiley very much in control of his own destiny in that 6th place as they head themselves up through the right of turn 1 and turn 2 through that section. So no worries at all for the moment. But Reese, surely now this is the time where you have to start gearing up for that one final move if you can get there.
Well, we saw a demonstration of what they could potentially look like just then on the broadcast from Ryan Jarek making a move at the hairpin. And this is the point where you start thinking about those moves, but there's only really 3 places you can do it. You can do it up into turn 2, you can do it into the turn leading out of the chute, or you can do it in the final hairpin. Everywhere else is all about rhythm. It's all about making sure you have that pace. So it's quite the balancing act you've got to perform around here. Keane will be thinking about it for sure, because have a look at how good he is on the brakes as Kiley turns in early.
Well, that pretty much is all about exit then. White flag comes out for Andrew Dyson. And look at Jamie McKnight all of a sudden, all over the back of one Sean Thompson. He was trying to angle to the inside for turn 2. It didn't work. He ran very wide, washed out on the marbles, and ultimately does not work out. Kiley holding on nicely. Jarek all over the back now of Josh Pickett as these battles look to try and get themselves to a conclusion here at Sonoma. It seems like that one Ryan Jarek has now got himself an angle to the inside, decides better of it here through the chute section. Can I open up the run here towards this hairpin corner and get this one down the inside? For the time being, it is no, 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 and no for any changes of position. But for Andrew Dyson, he's got one more corner at Gilligan's Island to try and find himself the move and try and find himself everything that he needs. He's got one vehicle in front that shouldn't pose any issues at all, that being Shane Evans. Andrew Dyson is going to go back-to-back in super split 2s. Welcome to the main event once again, 041. Andrew Dyson dominates over Kyle Stokes. Are there any dives down at the hairpin? Wide has gone Josh Pickett, and Ryan Jarek may just steal 8th place. They go to the line. Inside's always going to favour Pickett through this section, and they're going to rub. And I think Pickett may have just taken that, and he does by 5 thousandths.
Oh, what a finish there for 8th place. Excellent defense from Pickett, and Jarek took him right to the line. We'll have a modem simulation replay of that before we go through our race results. So Jarek managed to get himself up the inside, but with that outside line, Pickett, you know, a little bit of bish bash bosh, never hurt anyone, especially when it's right at the end.
No, absolutely, and that has been the case here. For a lot of drivers, they have found the bish, they found the bash, and they've ended up with a whole heap of bosh. Ben Christensen can't get by Rob Bowden for position to finish off the race. That's the fight for 29th and 30th out on track. Such has been their struggles and issues here today. But that is everyone across the line, and official classified results, they are as follows. Andrew Dyson makes it 2 straight super split 2s, and he'll be pretty much wondering, well, if I can get myself into the main event straight away, my life will not be as stressful here on a Sunday night. His margin of victory after 36 minutes and 45 seconds, 5.6 over Kyle Stokes in second. Scott Sislovsky comes home third after starting exactly where he finished. Sean Thompson up 7 positions to finish in 4th. Jamie McKnight, new team with United. He becomes the team boss of there after jumping away from Evolution Racing Team. He gets 5th with Bruce Kiley starting where he finished in 6th. A good defensive drive from him today. Reese Keane, he gets 7th with Josh Pickett in 8th. 5,000ths his margin with a hard-charging Ryan Jerrick at the end. Michael Skurlock had issues off the line, but he only manages a top 10.
Clint Smith, the last car in the field to pit, manages to get 11th from 16th. Good employment of strategy there. Cameron Dance with a massive gain. 28th position start, 12th place finish. Brilliant stuff from the number 6. Rob Harris finishes in lucky 13th position. Liam Wilde in 14th. All those guys gaining majorly off the start. Justin Wallace falling from 12th to 15th. Stephen Varga, a 20 position gain, 36th to 16th. Jason Hyde slipping back to 17th from a 10th place start. Paul Mansell starting outside the top 30 gets inside the top 20. Thomas Aram and Simon Mazzomo rounding out the top 20.
18 positions gained for Simon Mazzomo's second biggest mover and shaker, behind only Stephen Varga. 21st for Blackjack then for Troy Maguire and Henry King in 22nd in the ANS Motorsports car. You got Martin Silvassi and Damon Mulqueen 23rd and 24th. The last finisher on the leading lap, Shane Evans in 25th. He was lucky not to be lapped come at the end. Stephen Williams then, the first of the lap down drivers, with Jordan Gallagher as well in 27th. And then you hit those who have had not the best days in the offices. Tyler Blackburn, Rob Bowden early on running into issues. Ben Christensen, another one who struggled 6 laps down come the end.
It was the same for Dave Douglas, but he saw the finish as well. Zach Hanlon is our first proper retirement of this race. He had the pace to win what might have been were it not for that trip into the gravel off the curb. Guy Leach in 33rd position, 19 laps down. The rest of our retirements, Scott Gamble, Christopher Kessie, Brett Hender, Chris Purnell, and Harold Stadler not able to make it past the end of lap 1.
A poor evening then if you were a Team Hyperdrive driver. Both drivers out before the race had even started, so that wasn't ideal for them. But what we are going to do, though, here on the iRacing Esports Network, brought to you by SimSpeed TV, is step aside for one moment here, because we'll be back with the fallout from Super Split 2. We will look over towards qualifying that'll be coming up for your main event, and 2 very big, important races coming up. The championship, a whole new championship, a whole new year, is looking to get itself into shape in the early rounds.
Gonna get close enough. It'll be decided amongst the 19 and the 90. Here's Everhart to the outside. Stanford holds the bottom, side by side, going for the win at Talladega. Contact, it's too close, and in a dead heat, Daniel Everhart wins by 0.0001 seconds to the 10,000. You gotta watch the slow motion because this is gonna be considered unofficial. Our scoring says 0.000.
And now Verstappen has got to get his best block out as here comes Timo Calderon moving to the high side to try and get it on the team red line driver. Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call. It is 1,000 to Max Verstappen. He wins it for team red line. Fantastic.
That team really putting in a fantastic innings, and look at that. Something a little bit special here, ladies and gentlemen, because of course the drivers agreed to do this before the start of this race. It will be a little bit of a parade lap here in memory of Martin Solari as part of that Williams Gym esports team. It's been a tough week for Williams Gym esports Solari, but this is a very good gesture on part of the teams and on the part of the drivers to be able to make this happen. There we go, in the way through those NASCAR turns. Rest in peace, Martin Solari.
Fantastic. This is GT Racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my God!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get involved!
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what? This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS 2020 season round 2 here from Sonoma Raceway for the Super Sprint, which is, of course, 2 rounds of racing, which will be kicking off very, very shortly. We are in practice at the moment, qualifying, about to kick off in a few minutes' time. It's Jake Sperry in the commentary box, joined as ever by Reese Gardner here with this SimSpeed TV presentation brought to you on the iRacing eSports Network here today. And everybody knows that this is going to be a very tough qualifying session that will be coming up for these drivers. 2 laps will have to count and they are all going to be racing as hard as they possibly can right now because they know that the track temperature is not helping them in the slightest. It is hot, it is sweltering, it is 47 degrees on the track. It is not nice conditions for a racing race.
Oh my goodness, no way. We saw a 21-degree track in the Super Split 2 session, so the cars would have been nice and grippy once the tires got up to temperature, but now that this track is 47, it's got a lot of sunlight hitting it. Conditions are partly cloudy, so you do get a bit of reprieve, but largely the sun is heating up that racing surface, making the rubber that is already there get hot and slippery. So the drivers are going to have a lot of trouble out there. We also got to mention that it takes about 3-4 laps to get up to reasonable pace on these tires around this track. So you won't see drivers setting their fastest times in qualifying until they're well into a run.
Well, that is going to be very interesting to see how all of this plays out. We've got to talk, though, about drivers and especially the driver changes. We hinted at it at the very, very beginning of the broadcast. The United change and the United front that's come along. Haber leaving Mark 1, where he had been for the last couple of years, moving over to United, still with an influential force with Jamie McKnight at the helm. A very interesting decision, especially with the addition of Forzan El Nabi added to the mix as well. That is a very scary team prospect coming up towards Enduros. And the 21 machine, coupled with the 097, could be a team to look out for the future. Harley Haber, I would say, is the dynamite in the powder keg. Forzan El Nabi, on any day of the week, can turn up. But what day is that? Well, sometimes you have to wonder which day has a Y in it.
Yeah, exactly. Most of them, for that matter. Forzan El Nabi, just speaking of, he's not set a time in this practice session just yet, but Harley Haber going instantly to the top of the practice timesheets on a 13.600. So getting that new paint job in the United Esports machine, a bit of good exposure in practice.
A very good bit of exposure and looking like that he will be very, very happy with the way that he will be looking to run this one. Keep an eye out, though, on some other drivers up and down this field. Mainly, I want to look at number 37 making first start of the season. It's the young Cooper Webster, who has been a very, very improved driver over the last couple of months to a year or so. Picked up his first victory at Sebring last year and now looking to try and find improvements to that in the number 37 car. Was the fastest man in pre-qualification, and for someone who is prioritizing this 2020 season, this 2020 season towards his studies, this is a really, really good prospect for him because as and when he pops in, he knows he is really up to pace.
Yeah, it certainly is. Cooper Webster's come in absolute leaps and bounds in the last couple of years, and it's been really good to see his career evolve like it has. Got a new paint job there for the Evolution Racing Team machines, which we first saw at Montreal, but Webster himself running that nice blue and white scheme. It's a good colors to go fast in, as is his teammate Riley Blythe in the number 67. Riley's down in 26th at the moment, has not set a representative lap time in practice yet, but the likes of Jordan Caruso as well joining this team. That's his debut tonight, is Jordan Caruso for Evolution Racing Team. Welcome to V8SCOPS. We hope you enjoy your stay.
Well, Jordan Caruso is someone that definitely is someone you should keep an eye out on. If anyone has been watching the Monday V8 series that has been going on, myself and Jake Burton in the commentary box for that, Jordan Caruso has been a revelation over the course of a season and has been knocking on the door of race victories against the likes of Harley Habers, against the likes of Brady Myers and Richard Hamsteads and co's, as he's been looking to try and improve his pace and improve his skills. I think Jordan Caruso could very much be a key player at Evolution Racing Team in the next 1 to 3 years, so you've got to have to try and work out and see where things are going. Times are coming down, though, in practice, and all of a sudden, it is those drivers that are having a great job at pursuit at the front of the field. Andrew Gilliam, and it was Michael Talianchis in second, but Brad Rattu's jumped up. Andrew Gilliam's first start of the season, someone who I definitely expect to be up there fighting for championships right now. I'd say quicker at the moment than Harley Haber, who was second. I think quicker than James Scott could very easily go out there and challenge and get himself up in that high level. Yes, one drop round's gone away, but Andrew Gilliam, I would say, at this point of the season, with what's happened with the protest and everything else that's come along, I would say Andrew Gilliam is a favourite for the championship.
I certainly think he'll be up there for race wins and podiums this season. Championship charge, I'll reserve my judgment until the halfway point of the season, but we have seen excellent form from Mr. Gilliam in the past. He's lit up practice timesheets on more than one occasion in the past, and he it's almost something that's expected for him now. Making his way back out of the pits to see if he can dethrone Forzan El Nabi, who's just gone to the top of the timesheets in the United Esports machine. A 12-2 for him.
A 12-2 is a very, very good time, and he will be happy with that. Also up there inside the top 10, Sam Sutton, the military man who has done a very good job so far in practice. 4th position, he'll be very happy with that. Ethan Griggold had an absolute horror show come the end of Montreal. Will want to try and get his season back on track after feeling very hard done by. And on top of that, inside the top 10, you've got a very, very interesting Tom Freer, who was absolutely ecstatic with his result of finishing inside of the top 10 over at Montreal, and he'll be looking to try and continue on that rich vein of form heading here into Sonoma's 2 races.
He certainly will. Tom Freer, another guy that we've looked at quite a bit in the past as one of the people looking to make a charge towards the top. Freer, of course, driving for Pursuit, which, you know, Gilliam, Taliancic, etc. as teammates. That's a very good spot for Freer to be in. And currently sitting inside the top 10 again on the practice timesheets, setting himself up very well for success.
Very much setting well for success. What about the 143 of Jordan Ross? A team change over to Synergy along with Kyle Stokes. Always nice to get a good view of the scenery around. Jordan Ross, I believe, is one of the drivers who is the next generation. Of course, a winner at Bathurst 1 year ago, so to speak, in terms of the 2019 calendar. But a Jordan Ross who maybe needs a little bit of time to find his feet, some would say, at a brand new team, which is effectively an old team he used to race for.
Yeah, exactly. Jordan, formerly a Synergy sim racing driver, as was Kyle Stokes, before they both went to Evolution Racing Team. And then there was the whole palaver after Montreal, and United was formed out of that. So Ross and his teammate, Mr. Webster, coming back to Synergy, and after spending a while at ERT, they'll have to get used to that new team environment once again, because definitely know that ERT behind the scenes, very focused on the professionalism part of it, very organized, very right up there in terms of how they do things. Synergy Sim Racing, a bit more of a, I'd class them as a bit more of a casual team, but not by much. They've got a huge amount of talent in their stable, some guys that are good with setups, and of course they got this guy, Mr. Sixth Place, Brenton Hobson, who managed to finish second here last year on an almost no fuel strategy.
Well, everyone knows how brilliant that run was from Brenton Hobson. He made sure that he got himself as close as he possibly could. Want to keep an eye out, though, on the 098 car. This is Corey Preston, and this is a driver that does hold a reputation, some would say, as a driver who does get himself involved in more incidents than others. Very similar to the likes of Harley Haber. I think Corey Preston, after the ban that he received at the back end of last year, is just going to try and keep his head down for this one. He knows that he's been given this opportunity to race again, missed the opening round of the season. He just needs to keep his head square on at the moment, give himself a chance to put 2 decent results together, and I think that his potential can be seen. The issue has been, though, he's been caught up in so many incidents where people aren't giving him room, hitting him from pillar to post, that he's effectively fallen back into the one-track mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a difficult situation to pick apart as someone from the outside looking in, but, you know, we do know that Corey has the talent, he has the potential. It's just being able to stay in his own race and not get involved in incidents needlessly. That's one of the things that he has been working on over the last year, and we have seen some really good drives from him in the last season or so, which proves that he is on the up and up. So hopefully 2020 goes the same for him.
Brady Meyer, oh, actually, no, it doesn't there as he goes through turn one. That's wall, and that is a very big ouchie boo-boo, and he almost ended up exactly the same way that he did 1 year ago, because he was an incident that caused a safety car at that exact same spot. So Corey Preston there, not feeling like he was in best place. That might have even been 2 years ago now, if my memory serves me correct. Either way, drivers I was talking about, Brady Myers, Jake Maloney, Ethan Warren and co. Those are the sort of drivers to talk about right now. Drivers who have had pace over the last year, coming into this season now fresh here at round 2, using one of the 3 drop rounds. This can be interesting for them, because I think that with the new vehicles that have come out here for the new season, I think that there hasn't been much of a pace change, but I think certain drivers are not in positions they thought they would be.
No, and we did talk about this in Montreal as well, with the new Mustang and ZB Commodore coming into iRacing, and it's a complete redo of the cars from the ground up, with the new tire model and all that comes with that. So there's been a lot of testing, particularly in the top teams, and particularly among regular drivers of this car that have won quite a bit. They've helped out with the testing of the cars. And what's ended up being produced is a vehicle that is difficult to keep consistent in terms of lap times. And of course, you have the issues with the tire model, how it does not come up to temperature quite as quickly as it used to. So you do need to take a bit more care in the opening laps, get that heat into the tires.
And while talking about heat into the tyres as well, this is going to be a case of the heat's going to be easy to get into the tyres, but it's all about the fact of trying to keep your tyres very nice and clean and hoping that they do not fall away very quickly. Other drivers to keep a little eye out on, the likes of the Adam Briggses and the likes of the Kenneth Lattis and the Sean Linsdells. They're going to be ones that maybe are going to be a little bit further down the order, looking to try and make a name. Any positions they gain are going to be very crucial, as could be same said for the number 43 machine of Simon Feigl, team boss at the Logitech G Altus Esports outfit, but was absolutely stoked that he found himself top 20 when it came to pre-qualification. It shows that it doesn't matter what car you think it is or how good you think you are in that vehicle, class is still permanent.
It's exactly right. Simon Feigl with a lot of good history in sim racing, got some great results for Evolution Racing Team back when he was a part of that squad, and getting in the top 20 for this one, a big boon for him. James Scott, meanwhile, on screen, he is our championship leader. He is the winner of the last time out at Montreal, was not up the top in pre-qualifying though, so 1 lap pace he may still have to work on a little bit, but he's well placed to continue this championship charge that he's found himself in the middle of.
And we all know as well that qualifying in this series is going to be tough. And let's talk qualifying just for a moment, because it's slightly different to what we had last time out. There are 2 races and there is only 1 qualifying session. So your top 2 laps count for what you do. Your fastest lap sets the grid for race 1. Your second fastest lap sets the grid for race 2. And that's going to mean that drivers who make many mistakes, pick up the off-track incidents, the 0x's here and there around this track, which are a little bit easier to do here than maybe some other circuits around the world in the iRacing sphere. This is going to be a tough challenge, I think, for quite a few drivers. They need to be pretty much on it quickly with this new time model version 7. They're probably going to get 2 laps to get them up to temperature. The 3rd lap is going to be the tough one to see whether the pace still stays.
Yeah, and that's it. You got to remember the no escape rule as well. They have to tour back around the circuit, back to the pits. This qualifying session is only 20 minutes long, so you do a bit of mental math, that works out to 2, maybe 3 qualifying runs if you're lucky.
Well, that's really going to make life difficult, because if you've only got 2 qualifying runs, that means that both runs have to effectively be flawless for your first and your second laps that you try and put up on the board. So we'll see how that one is going to play out for a whole host of these drivers. But we are just a minute away from moving into qualifying, and I'm going to ask you, right now, just before the start of this first and second races. Who's your picks for the 2 race wins?
I hate being asked that question, to be completely honest with you, because it's such a difficult thing to determine with Scops. But with this season, we do have some of the regular race winners, like Jared Philsell, pretty much out of the picture at the moment. So, I don't know, man. I get the feeling that that we could see Ethan Griggold come into his own in the second race, but I'm calling Brenton Hobson to potentially get a podium again.
Well, that, I believe, is going to be very interesting. We'll see how qualifying comes in. I'd say that my pick for a win in race 1, keep an eye out on it for Andrew Gilliam. And in race 2, keep an eye out as well for the likes of, say, Cooper Webster. This is going to be a very tough field to try and get pole position out of. There are legitimately 15 to 20 drivers who all have a legitimate shot at pole position, such is the competitive nature of this one. But practice all but over here at Sonoma Raceway. We're going to head ourselves over to qualifying. 20 minutes, no escape rule in full effect. Open season qualifying. Once your lap starts, you may finish it with mastermind rules. First out of pit lane is going to be a big battle, and it will be Corey Preston who will look to try and make his statement known. And with James Scott, the championship leader, just behind, Corey Preston first on track.
Yeah, and bringing out one of his teammates with him as well, a bit of a ways behind. So Preston has a nice clear track to work with here, get his tyres warmed up. You might see a bit of weaving. Oh, have a look at that. He demonstrates that for us just there. And should be a nice run for him at the very front of this pack, but the rest of the field behind him are going to be jostling to find a bit of space.
Oh, and technical issues for Harley Haber right at the start of qualifying, so that's going to hurt, and he's probably going to get himself only 10 minutes, so he'll miss his first run when the track's green. That is big.
Very big. Very big. It's going to take him a few minutes to get back into the server and make sure his setup's loaded and back out on track, so that's a quarter of the session basically gone for Haber. He might only get one run in. Oh, Corey Preston going right out to the wall. I don't know how intentional that was. We do see drivers coming in for that. All right, so that wasn't an attempt at a run up to a qualifying lap, which we do see drivers do.
Well, he still has to go and do it, though, as we go on board with him. And actually, let's go behind on James Scott, heading through turn 2, and now you head to 3A and 3B. Here up the hill, more off-camber corners. This first one, 3A, isn't, but this 3B is, and that's what makes life difficult to overtake in the early stages. Lap times that are unrepresentative coming through into the chute. Very much a case of use as much road as you can, but get it back in line. The wall encroaches on you incredibly quickly. Then there's the prime overtaking opportunity and a slightly missed apex there for the brand new sponsored Evolution Racing Team cars there as they now head through the S's section. A very ferocious part of the track where you're trying to be as minimal as possible. This is where the shocks come into play here, Reese, for the final couple corners. Griffin Gardner also running into the same issues as Haber.
Yes, indeed. So that's not going to be good for Griffin Gardner's case, but down to the final turn, over the bump and hard on the brakes into the hairpin for James Scott, and he is doing another run up to have another go at a lap here. He's abandoned that particular run, going again.
Well, that wasn't brilliant then from James Scott as those lap times come in as James Scott puts a 14.1 on the board. Taliancic quickest then on a 13.9. Tom Freer then to the top. Thomas Hinds to the top on a 13.2 now. Finds it. Chris Coxhead to the top on a 13.1. The time's improving. Here's Ethan Griggold as he goes through. He does not set a representative lap time then as he goes through. So Cracknell up inside the top 5. Danny Davison up to Gilliam can only manage 10th. Del Nabi only 7th. Bumped down to 8th through Jake Blackwell's top 5 effort. Those are times. Ethan Warren up to 3rd. Chris Coxhead fastest. Who foresaw that?
Yeah, I don't think anyone did, but we got to remember it is the first lap in what's going to be a 3 or 4 lap run before we start seeing some proper fast times. 13.1 at the moment, the fastest, but we'll see times probably in the mid-12s.
Caruso goes fastest. Preston's had himself an issue, but Jordan Caruso on debut is on pole.
Excellent stuff from Jordan Caruso. Let's see what happened to Preston briefly. Just getting a corner of the car into the gravel off that curb, so he's had to pull out and let those guys by. But Caruso into the 12s. Michael Taliancic at 12.3, and James Scott to P2. Danny Davison, P1, 12.287. Here we go.
Thomas Hinds up to 4th position with his times. The second laps are quicker. We expect it. Ethan Grigol, 11.9. A 1:11.9 in track temperatures, which are 40 degrees. El Nabi to 2nd, Gilliam up to 5th. Ethan Warren finds himself in 4th place in the Altus car. So now you're starting to see those times. They are tumbling and stumbling and bumbling as they go through. Simon Feigl moves up to 12th position. All of a sudden, Jordan Caruso's pole time is now back to 13th.
Well, we'll see what he can do to bring that back. He's back onto the start-finish stretch now. 108, 109, 110. This is going to be a 111. No, it's going to be a 12.2, but still, that puts him back up into P3. Nice job.
ERT, followed by United, followed by ERT, followed by, of course, Exto Gaming. Then it's Altus. Then it is going to be the Pursuit cars. It is 5 different teams inside of the top 6. It's a very aggressive qualifying. No improvements there from one Mike Taliancic as James Scott does find improvement, goes up into 4th position. It is a marginal improvement then in the lap that you find for your 3rd run through. So that's going to be key in terms of how this is run. Elsewhere, Wayne Burke there in 14th, Tom Freer 15th, Jordan Ross now in 16th position. If you're looking at drivers who are mainly down the order you wouldn't expect at the moment, Aber is out there on top. As Gilliam has gone faster than 11.8.
What? Okay, 11.852 for Andrew Gilliam. Pursuit
Hobo's
have put the foot down. Oh, and yeah, Hobo. Excellent stuff from him. As we take a look at Brett Loxton, he hasn't set a representative time yet, but this time is looking pretty fast. This could be a mid-12 here. 12.595 then. Excellent stuff from Loxton. Or not quite excellent if you're thinking about his past form, especially at Montreal, but still, 23rd position in a 40-car field. Not much to complain about from my perspective.
Well, no, the Zuva car needs to find a bit more of some speed, and what they do have on the car is they've got Zuvacorn technology, I do believe. So they've got 2 little unicorns on the side. They're called Zuvacorns, and they do nothing, but they very much imitate the Swift Racing unicorns that part of my team that I run for. So those Zuvacorns, they should try and do their level best to try and make sure that they have as much protection as possible.
Yes, indeed. Zuvacorns are an endangered species, and we should make sure we have everything at our disposal to ensure their continued survival. Let's have a look at other cars out on track then. Looking at an ERT machine, and we're seeing the drivers start to come back to the pits now, as Brad Ryan we're looking at just coming into the top 10 there on a 13.6. Good stuff from the veteran.
Well, he's on a 12.3, his quickest. The 13.6 wasn't a representative lap time, so that isn't quite what he's looking for, but we do have some drivers out on track, one of which has just vaulted up the timing stands. I believe that's Harley Haber, who's gone up into 12th position on a 1:12.3 for the United team, so they will be looking to try and push a little bit further forward. Get this, the top 12 split by half a second on the road. Andrew Gilliam currently the quickest, with Ethan Grigol and his former teammate Forzan El Nabi behind there in 3rd position. It's Hobson 4th, it's Caruso 5th, and the championship leader starts at the moment no better than 6th place. Danny Davison 7th, Cooper Webster 8th, Ethan Warren in 9th, and Brad Ryan rounds out the top 10. Let's talk Ethan Warren for a second, because if you want to talk the Warren legacy around Sonoma, Dane Warren very, very nearly picked up his first race victory around this track. Was it not saved for a Jared Filsell?
Yes, indeed. The Warren brothers, very pacey, and they have been for quite some time. One of the best calls for Altus Esport to sign them, I reckon. But yeah, they've certainly not had luck fall their way all the time. It could have been a debut win for Dane Warren here, but hopefully for Ethan, he manages to stick around in the top 10, because we know that he's capable of those sorts of results.
3 is around, and that's at turn 2, so he's had a moment. He's come out of the pit, trying to get onto the grass to avoid, I believe that was Brad Ryan out there on a flying lap, and he's just gone straight around at turn 2 on the outside of the apex. He's able to get himself going again, but he's waiting for the likes of his very good friend from Team Hyperdrive. The two came over together, Jamie Stovall, to try and give himself a little bit of help. Stovall down in 38th position on the 13-1. He's not found the best time as of yet. 1.3 seconds, splitting first to last in this field. That shows you how competitive it is.
Yeah, and there's Brady Myers gearing up to start another lap, see where he places himself. He's gotten some top 10s, sometimes even top 5s in this series in the past, has Brady. He'll be looking to go a few better on this one.
He's down in 17th position. He's the number 22 car, so he will need to find a little bit more improvement if he is to get himself moving forward. It is worth noting as well, this track is partly cloudy conditions, so there could be cloud cover. And what's crucial about partly cloudy is that cloud cover only comes along for a minute or two. That means you've got one lap where the track cools down, because it's up now at 44 degrees. It's 4 degrees higher than what the session started at.
Yeah, goodness me, that's a large difference that makes. But when a cloud comes over, it's all about timing. You don't quite know when it's going to happen. You just got to hope to high heaven that when you're out there on track, you see everything just getting a bit darker. That's your signal that you're on for a good lap. So Myers coming to the end of that first hot lap. There's an ERT car gearing up for a qualifying run just in front of him. So what kind of time can we expect here from Mr. Myers? It looks like it's going to be a 1 minute 12.386. So not quite where he wants to be. Lucky 13th. He can go better though. The 12.3s go all the way up to 8th place actually.
They certainly do, and that's just 0.08 of a second that he needs to find to leapfrog over Cooper Webster in 8th position. That shows you just how finite the margins are around this track. Gilliam's margin is 0.5 of a second at the moment in terms of his advantage, to which it is 0.03 to Forzano Nabi. Top 3 split by 1/10 of a second. That's how close things are at the moment. Someone who needs to find some pace is Daniel Ackland, and I will specify Daniel Ackland because I got a very worded message, I think is the right thing to say, from Daniel Ackland, saying, please do not call me Danny Ackland. I do not like it. You can call me Dan, you can call me Daniel, but please, under no circumstances, call me Danny. Sorry, Daniel.
All right, well, we shall respect your wishes, Daniel, and see how you go on this particular run. He hasn't set a fast lap time yet, but the Synergy Sim Racing driver in his Mustang, we know what kind of pace he is capable of. He's usually seen in and around the midfield, so that's not a representative time from him just yet. He's just geared up now for a proper run. Currently sitting down in 34th. Let's see where he puts himself.
Well, he needs to find some improvements. The car behind that in 35th is what I believe is the only non-Oz NZ driver in this field from Club Carolina. He is an IndyCar specialist. He is Adam Blocker in the number 74 machine, and to be racing in US time slots, and to think that I get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to cover these races. If he's in the Carolinas, that'll be a 7-hour time zone difference, 6-hour time zone difference. So right now, it would be about 2:30 in the morning for him to race. So that is true dedication.
Certainly is. It reminds me of my older sim racing days when I used to race in the Euro leagues. That was oh goodness me. Yeah,
Haber up
to
into
7th.
7th. So that's 5 positions gained from that at the moment, but there is still time, and that's very good news for Harley Haber, because if he's... Oh, Brady Myers has just gone 7th on a 12.2. I was going to say a 12.3 is good, because that's a good second lap banker as well, and that's going to be crucial as well. Looking at this field and how tight it is, or if you want to know how tight it is, 5th is a 12.259. That's Jordan Caruso in 5th. If you want to know what the end of the 1.12.4s gets you at the moment, that's 24th position. That's 2/10.
This is crazy close. The amount of competition we're seeing at the moment. You got to remember, this is around a track that's just over 70 seconds long. So not many places where you can get a clear advantage. 13.3 from Brenton Hobson, not a representative time for him. He'll be on his second qualifying run at the moment, but man, these times, it's just crazy looking at how close they are. What's Cooper Webster doing, meanwhile?
Well, he's coming down into pit road. That's what he's doing at the moment. So his lap is pretty much abandoned ship as he goes on through. As we look at one Jordan Caruso looking to try and find his improvements in terms of time as he looks to try and really ratchet up some pace. What's he going to do over the line? It's 12.4. It's no improvement, but that would be a good second lap for Caruso if he can continue on his run as he looks to go forward. We've got 6 minutes and under now. 5 minutes and 45 seconds as they go through over the line. So now question becomes, where do you start your laps and how late do you leave it?
You would go out, I would presume, if you really want to cut it fine, 5 minutes before the session is due to end. That way you can get yourself out onto a clear bit of track. You get 3 laps with which to heat up your tires, and then your third or fourth run is going to be your quickest. That should happen right as the checkered flag drops, but I know that there are some drivers out there who won't want to take that chance.
Well, I know some drivers don't, but they do know that they have to get to the start-finish line. If you get there with a second, you've got another lap. If you get there 1 second too late, that's it, your lap stops. So there is the big gamble. You feel that someone who is out there last on track may have the advantage of, I've got the last lap, we'll see what I can do. Andrew Gilliam's done 11.9 as his second banker lap, which is absolutely fantastic by his standards. So Andrew Gilliam could be best placed to take back-to-back pole positions when it comes to the 2 races that we've got. 1 sprint, 1 feature as they go through. Adam Briggs does a 12.5 and jumps himself then to the 13th row in 25th position. As we look at Ethan Grigalt making a charge to the line as he got himself a bit of improvement. 12 flat, that's a great second lap though.
That is, certainly. That puts him up into 4th place as a result of that. At least in terms of the times that have currently been set, but a good second lap for sure. Something that that we're going to have to think about going into this second race, because we don't have in this commentary box any easy way of telling what the race to
Brad Ryan's just gone
going
to 5th.
be. Oh, Brad Ryan has gone to 5th. That is surprising.
It is, but what it also is a great lap time from him. So he'll be very happy with that as he runs his vehicle into pit road. He'll get himself some tyres and he'll go for his final banzai moment, trying to get everything that he wants, trying to move forward. This is how the field looks now. Gilliam, Griggold, Elnabi, Hobson, Ryan, Warren, Caruso, Scott, Myers and Haber, your top 10 at the moment. And it can get closer, and it probably will get closer through qualifying. 3 minutes, 15 seconds left. Now you're starting to gear up for these big laps.
Now you are starting to gear up for sure. Cooper Webster, this will be one of his final attempts at a qualifying run. Currently sitting down in 12th. Ross Rizzo down in 22nd at the moment. What kind of improvements can he make? We know that he's not always the best driver on 1 lap pace in these cars, but look out for him come races, especially if they have a pit stop.
Well, that pit stop is going to be key. Evolution Racing Team like their fuel save, of course, but now you're starting to work out, okay, who's got times, who's got pace, who's got everything. Kenneth Latter currently the slowest driver on the 13 flat, likes of Jake Maloney, Scott O'Keefe, Griffin Gardner, 3 drivers who have yet to set representative lap times over the course of racing action. Maloney is out there on track, just trying to get himself out of position there of every other driver. I think he may do one of his patented last to first challenges, which he definitely does like doing, and how he runs his sim racing. But you're now starting to think, okay, now we've got 2 minutes to go. Maybe we've got 2 laps that we can put together here to try and get things going. Brad Ratu currently in 17th position. Now he's gearing up. Brady Myers looking like he's on a good lap, currently 9th at the moment. He makes his way to the Gilligan's Island hairpin.
Yeah, and fun fact, it's called Gilligan's Island because before the pit upgrades, when NASCAR raced here, there used to be a second pit lane on the inside of the hairpin. Called Gilligan's Island because once you got there, you'd be stranded. Couldn't go back for spare parts. Brady Myers, a 12.29 for that one.
That's almost identical.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's one thing that you do have to think about is consistency of the laps. If you do lap times that are well within the vicinity of each other, you're basically guaranteed the same starting spot in both races. What can Harley Haber do from 10th place? Can he improve at all his starting spot for race 1 into the 110s, the 111s? It's going to be a 112 from Haber.
Fourth.
Good
P4,
stuff.
and Forzan goes fastest, 11.8, and there is a magical time, 100th, says he's quickest now, with a minute to go. Forzan El Nabi here, Reese, has found the top of the timing stands.
And what a great time to do it with less than a minute to go in the session. The other guys won't have much time to respond to that, but only by 100th over Andrew Gilliam. That's all you're going to need. What about Ross Rizzo? He's come to the end of this lap, and it looks like it's going to be a mid-112 from him, a 12.687. That's not going to help him too much. Brady Myers, though, at the end of another lap, can he improve on his 10th spot? No, he can't. Way down.
He's got one more attempt, though, and there's 20 seconds left. Who will be the last over the line? It won't be Adam Blocker last over the line, but he will get another lap in. 12.7. That's okay from him. Corey Preston gets another attempt with a 12.4 by his standards. He'll be happy. Gilliam gets one more chance at redemption here to find it. 2-1. Johnstone short as he comes over the line as he does a 14.5. Maloney won't find improvements. Haber can't improve on his times. El Nabi does not improve, but does a great second lap on a 1:11.9. That's going to give him a really nice banker. Ethan Warren, nothing for him doing as most drivers diving down onto the lane. Danny Davison, though, thinks he's on a good lap, but he slightly misses the apex down at Gilligan's Island, and suddenly the 075 backs off of it. Someone who isn't backing off of it, though, is the young Cooper Webster, straight lining for the line, currently 11th. He finds himself not quicker. Oh, that's a shame. Simon Feigl over the line, 120. That's not going to do the job done. Ross Rizzo, 12.5, does find no improvement, but a great second lap that was, as Riley Blythe tries to find himself out away from 24th position, 12.8. That's not going to do the job done there. Sonny Jim. Adam Blocker will now try and get it going, but I think he's just hit the inside tyres there, so he's not going to find much improvement. Look for Andrew Gilliam, though. 0.97, 100th to find. The track's going against him. Has he got anything left in the tank? And I think he just tapped the wall through the final corner. That cost him all the time he needed. So that's a big no. He's not going to find anything. This is how the grid stacks up, though. Forzan El Nabi, pole position then on a 1:11.842. He will have Andrew Gilliam alongside him in the 201. Ethan Grigalt and Harley Haber share the second row with Brenton Hobson in 5th and Brad Ryan in 6th position. Ethan Warren starts 7th. Jordan Caruso on debut. Give a hat off to him. He starts from 8th with James Scott 9th and Brady Myers in the top 10.
Cooper Webster just missing out by 0.04 of a second on a top 10 starting spot. He'll go from 11th. Danny Davison joins him on row 6. Thomas Hinz and Michael Taliancic in 13th and 14th. Jordan Ross makes his return to Synergy Sim Racing in 15th place. Brett Loxton starting in 16th. Brad Ratu and Sam Sutton share row 9. Michael Cracknell and Brett Cananzi for Eclipse Sim Sports rounding out the top 20.
Well, Corey Preston starts 21st. It's two little ducks for Chris Coxhead in 22nd. He started on pole with his first flying lap. Ross Rizzo 23rd, Riley Blythe 24th, and then you got Wayne Burke way down the order. Ryan O'Sullivan alongside him. Simon Feigl 27th, Briggs in 28th. Blackhall starts 29th. Tom Freer, poor qualifying for him. He's down 30th.
Benjamin Smith lining up in 31st position, joined by Jamian Johnston on the 16th row. Adam Blocker, the resident American, starting in 33rd position beside Daniel Ackland. Jamie Stovold and Ian Bird on row 18. And the last two rows of the field, Andrew Dyson and Sean Linsell, with Kenneth Latter and Griffin Gardner, 39th and 40th. Jake Maloney also taking to the grid here, but neither he nor Gardner set a time.
Well, we'll see how these drivers find themselves with 2 minutes to grid up, or they start from pit lane. It's a 25-lap race. It's slightly shorter than your sprint race that happened in Super Split 2, which Andrew Dyson looked to try and pick up a good result out of. And, of course, Andrew Dyson starts this one from 37th overall on the grid. But it's all about those at the front. As you look, United, a new team. You got Evolution there with Ethan Grigalt, Andrew Gilliam, looking to prove his start to the season. Same for Forzen Elnabi. Brenton Hobson, a career best qualifying, or the best in a long time for him. This is going to be all about who is going to show their nerve and show exactly what they are capable of. Hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. This is about to get really, really interesting. It is, of course, Sonoma. It's round 2, and this is where the money is made. Can you find what you want? Lights procedure starts then on the iRacing gantry. Let's get ourselves ready. 25 laps starts right now, and let's get ourselves going. And was that slow from Forzen Elnabi? Really slow in the background there as they go through. Gilliam already to the inside, but it favours Elnabi here as they go through. I thought Elnabi maybe very quickly jumped the start. Bit of contact between the two of them. Tries Ethan Grigoltz as they go through. Brad Ryan, he goes straight on as he goes through at turn 2. But all of a sudden, now you've got to think about defence here, Gilliam. Ethan Grigoltz around the outside, up into second.
Wow, excellent stuff from Ethan, but Gilliam's looking to try and either come back at him or defend from Harley Haber behind. It's a very chaotic start here, but it looks like most everyone, has gotten through those first few turns cleanly. Then down to the end of the chute. No passes being made here so far, but a little bit of side-by-side action between Jordan Ross and Thomas Hinds coming through the S's. That's an excellent bit of racetrack, but on cold tyres, it's a nightmare.
Oh, and it still is for Jordan Ross, who's lost almost a second here as he's been trying to gather the car back up. So he's been really struggling with it over the opening lap. Harley Haber, though, trying to get back to Andrew Gilliam here in the battle for third. Thought about the inside, thinks better of it as they all line astern to Gilligan's Island for the first time as they go through side by side in the background. Oh, this is going to end up in disaster. Around goes Brad Ryan. His lap 1 has ended in total disaster. I believe that was that Cracknell who's turned around, or was that Michael Taliancic? It was Michael Taliancic in the 777.
Oh yeah, that's a big shame to see. Motum simulation replay of what happened, and you'll see that Taliancic didn't quite plan for this to happen. So here is the train up in front of him. You get onto the brakes for the hairpin. Taliancic going in real deep, has to take avoiding action, locks up, and then straight into Brad Ryan, turning him around. That's a big shame.
Side by side, Haber and Gilliam. Gilliam made the mistake out of 3B, and there you go. Down inside. Oh, Hobson's taking it around, and all of a sudden, there you can see everyone's going to try and get through. Andrew Gilliam's race goes from bad to worse, and he's going to have to back it off the track to try and get himself back going again, and he will fall right to the back of the train on that one instant. Hobson was a little bit too eager.
Yeah, we're seeing that on replay right now. Bit of a lock up there from Hobson going in. So that's a big shame for Andrew Gilliam. He's a very awkward part of the track as well. That's where they would start to track out for the exit and maybe hit him. It seems like he's gotten away with it mostly, but it's on here for 9th and 8th. James Scott just making his way past Brenton Hobson here, potentially for position 8. Side by side on the front stretch. I always like this.
Oh, but James Scott's not, because the championship leader can't find the move. Or is he up the hill? Oh, there was not a gap there, but he made one, and he's given one for his Hobson's teammate here, Jordan Ross, to go down the inside. Door gets slammed shut as they go through, but all of a sudden, it's all changed. Elnabi and Grigoltz now, they're 2 on their own at the moment. Haber is there in 3rd place, but now you look back at the battles right now. Brady Myers and Cooper Webster, 5th and 6th, they started outside of the top 10 together, and they're finding themselves in a really good run at the moment as they look to try and push forward, but it is 2 away at the front, and Elnabi is probably looking at defense.
Yeah, Elnabi will be looking at defense. There's no pit stop in this race, so you won't be able to strategize your way out of a battle situation. Elnabi has to be careful here because we know how hungry Ethan Grigoltz can get in that 117.
Oh, and Ethan Grigoltz knows he wants to make those moves. He wants to make up for Montreal, which ended in complete disaster by his standards in terms of racing. He knows that Forzen Elnabi is one of the quickest. He knows Forzen Elnabi has fought for race victories here before at this track. It's all about, can it become a reality around this place? Look, though, a little bit further back down the order because you've got the likes of Sam Sutton trying to find a way through in the one performance car, trying to get away around Brett Loxton and the Zuvacorns on his vehicle. Wayne Burke is there in the background. Wayne Burke's had a good run at the start of this one as they go through, but ultimately they're all checking up with each other because of just how important the draft can be. Hobson and Hinds at the moment battling as well. They're going to go at it for position, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a penalty see as Brady is going to go for it. It's one around the outside with Cooper Webster. That one does not work down the inside even.
No, certainly, and now he is right in the middle of an ERT sandwich. Webster ahead, Caruso behind. And these are all young guns fighting in this battle, which is awesome to see. And look at how much of the track they're using even beyond the curves. It's amazing that they don't spin out every single time with the way they hurl these cars around these tracks. No moves for the time being, but you can tell that this battle is brewing.
Oh, you certainly can, and they know they want to start making positions. Oh, car off. That's the Zuva car who's gone straight on at Gilligan's Island. That's Brett Loxton, was it there, who's had to try and find a way through because he was down on the brake. And did he get a tap from behind? Oh, he got a big push as they go through. And they went on and oh, no!
It's gotten worse. Way worse. ERT car involved in that as well. That's a very awkward spot on the front stretch. You might see a safety car.
No, he's getting going. He's getting going, so they're going to continue on. But that was a massive accident there with Brett Loxton trying to gain it all back. It happens just like that, and they've got side by side in the pack now all of a sudden. Tom Freer's got to take a slowdown, or is he laps down? No, he's taking a huge slowdown penalty, so he drops right to the back of the train. And there are so many battles. It seems that everybody is battling with a Mark 1 car. There's 4 Mark 1 cars side by side into turn 5.
Goodness me, but we're taking a look at the replay here of what happened to Brett Loxton, and it looks like he just got shafted into the hairpin, and of course then you had the guys going too wide behind them. They couldn't quite fix it up for themselves, and Loxton taken out completely in the midst of that, as was Riley Blythe.
Well, let's get a bigger look at this then from Brett Loxton's perspective. He was stuck on the outside of 3 wide, there into the wall, and there's not much you can do. He takes the apex. There's no way at that point in time that Riley Blythe can slow that down. I'd call that a big racing incident. Look at what happened in the 3 wide to make all of that happen, though. At the front of the field, it still falls on El Nabi here on lap 6, though. But look at Brady Myers all of a sudden. They're trying to put the pressure on Cooper Webster in the 37 Evolution Racing Team machine. On the brakes they go, and no worries at all through that section. Seems like Brady Myers, he's going to be looking at the rear of that ERT car for a very long time in this race.
Yeah, well, from his perspective now, the tyres are up to temperature. They're within that operating window. You're getting the maximum amount of grip out of them. So just settling in at the moment and hopefully conserving the tyres to make a move right at the end. Drive through at the pits for Ryan O'Sullivan, we're hearing, and he's already served that. Not quite sure what that was for, but it was for an incident on lap 1 with Brett Cananzi, we're hearing. So O'Sullivan back down to 36th.
Yep, he certainly is. Danny Davison's under pressure, though, on the brakes. He's got to deal with the 2-1 performance cars trying to find a way through, and that will be Wayne Burke, who's trying to go around the outside now here through the final small kink, and then towards turns 1 and 2, and just a car width given there by Danny Davison, and look at this up the hill. Oh, they come together up the hill and in towards turn 2, and suddenly look at this. Oh, pick a pocket, why don't we? Try that one on for size, says Michael Cracknell. Doesn't quite get the run that he needs, but Danny Davison has to give it up, and then he gets a big tap from Cracknell as they go through, and suddenly Simon Feigel's on the scene, and he doesn't quite know what to make of this as they go through. But freebie, thank you.
Yeah, that was Cracknell getting into the back of Davison just briefly there. That gave the opportunity to Feigl, and he'll take that position round the outside on the exit of the chute, but not without a little bit of a tap from Crackers.
Well, not without a bit of a tap, but they know that they've got a long time in this race yet, 7 laps. It has been a very entertaining 7 laps to start, but Forzan El Nabi here has broken a second here on Ethan Griggold as they go over the start-finish line. So Forzan, all of a sudden, starting to stretch his legs, but ultimately on that last lap was 2,000 slower. That shows you how close these drivers are in terms of time. Harley Haber there in 3rd, happy to be in 3rd. Ethan Warren happy to be in 4th right now. They're racing races all on their and own at the moment. And at the moment, the Evolution Racing team, they've got themselves what is 2nd, 5th, 7th and 8th at the moment. Caruso and Scott trying to get on the scene here of Brady Myers.
Yeah, they've fallen back from Brady a little bit over the last few laps, and oh my goodness, it's a bit of a scrappy exit in the chute for Caruso. But They're still keeping it nice and consistent. We have a look at Brenton Hobson and Thomas Hinz here in the RA2 Mustang, and Hinzy has got Bradley Ratu drawing up behind him for company as well. Hobson, we know, is a very staunch battler. He knows how to defend, but around a track like Sonoma, it's not going to be an easy job, especially down here at the hairpin. Thomas Hinz not going for the move just yet. Having a little bit of a look, though. Nothing doing for the moment.
No, nothing doing for the time being. Want to keep an eye on Jake Maloney, though. There's a crash in the back, and it's a huge one that we're seeing here, and that looks like the 041 car. That's Andrew Dyson, and that's our Super Split 2 winner who's gone around. And I didn't quite catch what exactly happened in that, so if we can get a motion simulation replay, that'll be really grand, as we see exactly what just went wrong here with Dyson's DPR car. It seems like they're heading through this right-hand section. They're 3 wide almost in front as they go through. So this is Ross Rizzo, and behind that, Andrew Gilliam trying to desperately make a way through, fighting with the Mark 1 car, and he just gets himself on the grass. There's a little tap there, and a second tap turns him around, and Dyson is an innocent bystander as they go through. And suddenly, there's a big bottleneck, and I didn't quite catch who the other driver got caught up in was.
Yeah, I didn't either, unfortunately, but that is a big shame for Dyson. And in other news, oh, have a look at this. The number 96 car going past the Mach 1 machine of Sean Linsell, pass at the hairpin. But we do have some news about Michael Taliancic. Of course, we know that he was involved in that earlier incident up at the chute. And he's been given a drive-through for that incident. Brett Loxton has been given a drive-through as well.
Brenton Hobson. That was for the incident with Andrew Gilliam, so that would be a deserved penalty. Brenton Hobson would have known that would have been coming after that incident. It does sometimes take a little while to get back up to speed with all the incidents. You're looking and looking and looking and looking. Race control do a very, very difficult job. Michael Korolev, Simon Black, you have to give them all the props in the world for that. But Brenton Hobson, well, he had a very good qualifying position, but all of a sudden, all that hard work is going to be unraveled just like that. Keep an eye on Forzan and Ethan Grigault. They are hovering around a second at the moment, and I have a feeling that it's either going to go really quickly back one way or another way at the moment, as we look at the back of Adam Blocker right now, and he is having to play blocker.
Yeah, absolutely, and looks like Damian Johnston might have to try and do the same, but he won't have the opportunity. Jake Blackhole up the inside and not getting the best exit, but squirrely on the exit for Blackhole, so Johnstone gets the position right back. But you know what? The amount of time you lose from making small errors like that is just increased tenfold at this circuit, because Ross Rizzo is on the back of all of these guys, and that's his view of it there.
And Reese, wouldn't you call that vintage torque oversteer?
Vintage torque oversteer for sure. No limited slip diffs on these cars. The differential is completely locked, so you got 650 horsepower going through both wheels at exactly the same rate.
Oh, look at this. Andrew Gilliam here trying to get by Brett Loxton, whose car looks a sight for sore eyes at the moment here in the scrap for 26th onwards, well, 25th and 26th. At the moment as they go through and look behind. You've got Brad Ryan, Griffin Gardner, Sean Linsdale, Ryan O'Sullivan in the train, Ian Bird as well trying to get anything through at the moment. But at the moment it seems like all of these drivers are pretty much looking at, well, one position would be nice, but we could get a whole heap full here if we continue battling. Lap 11 and 25, half distance score complete at the end of the next lap.
And this race has had an awful lot happen in it so far. It feels like an entire 25-lap race has gone down. Andrew Gilliam trying one up the inside here of Brett Loxton. Loxton holding on around the outside. Now, is Gilliam going to get caught on the marbles? No, he gets a pretty clean exit, but no advantage for him here. Oh, he doesn't want to have a repeat of a couple laps ago. They just managed to get away with it, and through, just pipping that spot, goes Brad Ryan. Excellent stuff.
Absolutely fantastic stuff, as car 12 will get a drive-through penalty as well. So that's going to be Sam Sutton who's going to take it. Gilliam now under more pressure right now. Oh, contact with Griffin Gardner, but he gets sent the door, and he'll lose another one as well, because here comes Ryan O'Sullivan here trying to pick it up. It seems that Andrew Gilliam's in unfamiliar territory, and he's going the wrong way through this field for the pace that he had. to be second in qualifying. It shows you all you need to know about how competitive this field is. They battle all the way down in 26th, and the guy who starts in second may still find himself in all sorts of heaps of trouble around this track. Rely on that second race to go and give you some pretty big, substantial points. Ethan Grigol, though, let's go to the front of the field. We haven't been there in a few laps. Is still there with Forzan El Nabi, and that is not what he'll be wanting to see the 097, because he knows he's got to still run at 100% throughout this race to try and keep himself just with a second at bay.
Yeah, not a huge gap between these guys, and we have to keep in mind the tyres as well. They won't be going into the pits for this one unless, of course, they are taking a drive through like Sam Sutton is at the moment on screen. But yeah, once those tyres start going off towards the end, El Nabi may be in big trouble, because we do know that Evolution Racing Team put a lot of effort into understanding these cars and the way the tyres work as well.
Absolutely, and that is why they are one of the best teams when it comes to these Australian touring cars. They are the benchmark. Some would say that the likes of, say, a DJ PTR, a Team Penske, I've butchered the name, would absolutely, definitely be considered the benchmark when it comes to racing in the V8 Supercar Series I, R and L. But now you start thinking about other battles, though, on track. Thomas Hinds is looking at 9th position here against Jordan Ross. Funny how things sort of work out for certain drivers. At the moment, it seems like Hinds and Ross, they have both been in very good places. And what can Hindsy do to look for the inside potentially as they go on the brakes? The cone line, some would say there, from Jordan Ross. A little bit more of a shallower line there from Thomas Hinds, but it doesn't matter. Not close enough.
No, not quite. It's Hindsy just trying to shorten the corner as much as possible, get on the throttle as soon as possible as well. Have a look at how much he leans on his fronts coming up into turns 1 and 2. That's amazing, the gap that he closes. But again, it's that dichotomy of entry versus exit. You see Jordan Ross just able to take a bit better care of his car once he puts the right foot down.
And that right foot becomes very important around a track where you're very much balancing on that right foot for so many corners around here. No corner is very truly flat out as they go through, as we look at this gap now down to 0.8 of a second. So Forzan El Nabi, he had himself 1.1. He's dropped 3/10 over the course of this lap. So this has not been the lap that Forzan El Nabi would have liked to have seen, but through the second half of the lap, he'll be hoping to try and pull himself out that gap, but again, remains at 0.8 of a second here, keeping honest. Battle, though, a little bit further back in the pack right now, and you can see Hobson and Sutton, two of the drive-through boys, now having a scrap.
Yeah, and this is for 22nd and 23rd position. They're mired back in this pack here, and a long train of cars up ahead of them. The Rizzo, Blackhall, Johnston, Maloney blocker battle that we were talking about earlier, and Jamie Stovall right up at the front of this as well. Blocker really deep into the hairpin. That was almost a crash, but they managed to all get away with that. Jake Maloney, though, on the outside. Why saying hang on?
I think Forzan is having really difficult issues at the moment out on track, and it's the variety of the technical, so it's going to be tough now for Forzan El Nabi. This is difficult for Ethan Grigol as well, because not only does he lose the toe because of the fact that technical issues are happening for Forzan El Nabi, it's also it is a big it's also the fact, though, as we see brilliant battling in the background.
Yeah, and there's some of that brilliant battling going on right now. It looks like a pack of sardines, a whole can of sardines coming into the chute section. Where do you look? Where do you go? What on earth? That is ridiculous.
You talk Noah's Ark Racing, they are too wide 4 deep as they went through that section. That's brilliant stuff right now. Hobson's in the middle of this, mind you. Brad Ryan's going to come up to it. Briggs, Hobson, Rizzo, Sutton, Maloney, Stovall, Blackhall, Blocker, and Damian Johnstone. The blocker in all of this. This is a huge train. I've just looked at that and gone, I want none of that if I was racing in there.
Yeah, not at all. Oh, Adam Blocker, he's gone a little deep, 3 wide in the background. Maloney is through, and that's a car around in the background. Ross Rizzo with a half spin. Unfortunately, that's caught up Brad Ryan and Griffin Gardner and all of that. Oh, Ethan Warren's around from 5th place.
Oh no, and that's not in a good place at all. So what has happened there at turn 5? He was all on his own, and he's going to try and get it going again. So Ethan Warren just loses it on the exit, trying to put the power down. And oh, he's very lucky his teammates not run into him there. So Ethan Warren, what was looking promising for a 4th place finish, has suddenly just fallen by the wayside. You can see there, trying to gather it up. He's clipped the wall on exit, and there's not much you can do. You ride the wall like you're Tony Hawk.
Yeah, it's only a tiny little tap of that wall for him. And back to the pack, Jake Blackhole trying one up the inside, but it's not quite working. Jamie Stovold getting passed by Hobson there. Stovold has been right in the mix of this the whole last lap. It's been a very stressful time for him.
Certainly has. It's also stressful for Jordan Ross right now because Thomas Hinds and also Brad Ratu are wanting to gain positions. This is the top 10 scrap at the moment that's going on, and I think for the time being, you've got to start looking at this. Lap 17 to 25, not long left to go in this race here. You're in the final third. You've got to start gearing up these moves, and Thomas Hinds is all over the back. Don't try it into turn 5. You've got a better shot at 6.
Yeah, and this battle up at the front is now under 0.7 of a second as well. So the fight continuing between Forza Nilnabi and Ethan Grigolt's back out to 0.8 for now, but Ethan Grigolt on the charge. Let's have a look at Jordan Ross then, because Thomas Hinds is right on the back of him here, and it's a potential move into the hairpin. I'm calling it now. We'll have to wait and see what happens though, because Hindsy not getting the best exit from these S's, but coming down on the run to the hairpin. He could take a look to the inside. Is he far up enough? Ross going defensive, so he knows what's coming.
He does, and he knows that's the only real place you're going to find opportunity. So he's got to be careful he's not over-defending through this section, but he does know that he is in a position where he's got to look out. As is Forza Nilnabi right now, 13.9 compared to a better 13.9 from Ethan Grigolt. He's just slowly almost trying to reel in the fishing rod and say, you know, come on, I've got you, little fishy wishy.
Yeah, well, the little fishy wishy may have to wait, because Adam Blocker right now is the bait on the end of the line for all of these guys. And Stovold, my goodness, getting very close quarters with other cars in the start-finish area. Ross Rizzo in the midst of all of that as well. It seems to have broken up into two separate battle packs. Yep, here comes Briggs indeed.
And there's Griffin Gardner trying to get both of them here around the outside of turn 3. And yes, position 8. Wow. Great work. But Briggsy's going to come back, is he? They go through Brad Ryan in that train. Ross Rizzo, Ryan O'Sullivan. On the brakes they go. Ryan looking for the inside. Stovold's got to leave the room. And all of a sudden, the pack splinters again.
Yeah, a little bit of a gap there. Ryan going up the inside of Stovold. Stovold makes a little bit of contact, turns in a bit early. So that's going to give the run to Ryan. And so Stovold has to slot back in, and before he knows it, he might fall all the way to the back of this train. Hobson, meanwhile, is harassing the back of Jake Maloney, as the gap at the front is now under 0.6 of a second.
It is, and that's going to be worrying. Half a second now for Forza Nilnabi, who's starting to look backwards in his mirrors. And this is a very similar situation to a race that we saw happen. Same format, same lappage, only a couple of seasons ago. Jared Filsell and Dane Warren. There are so many similarities going on between what happens here and what happened there. So we'll see how this one plays out for Forzan as they look to go on. Hobson, yes, fighting with Maloney. Yes, under a bit of pressure, but yes, not finding much as Sam Sutton has gone through on Adam Blocker at the moment as they go through. So some really good work happening at the moment. But again, it's more traffic though for the leaders, Elnabi and Grigolt, because now they're starting to see Mark 1 in front. That's Kenneth Latter.
Yeah, Kenneth running in 34th position at the moment. He's currently the last car running out of everyone, and he'll shortly be the first car a lap down here. Off he goes at turn 1, and lets both of our leaders by. Mora-O.
Yes, Jordan Ross, technical issues. He's out from 8th place, so that's going to promote everybody up through the order from there. So Hindsy up to 8th, Ratu 9th, and Wayne Burke, who started 25th on the grid, is now inside the top 10. If that's not driver recovery, I don't know what is.
Yeah, well, we got to remember Wayne Burke finished very well at Montreal as well. So when it comes to a race situation, he's one of the guys that you can count on. An excellent one from Wayne in this first race of the second round. We're right on board with Jake Blackhall, though, because he is fighting for 17th position here with Adam Blocker, and almost a late move up the inside. Forces Blocker off the line as a bit of a reaction, but it's not going to be easy for Blackhall to do much from here. Hobo fighting behind with Maloney, yes, who goes round the outside of turn 3, but can't get the power down. Hobson with a better run down towards the chute. He gives Maloney a bit of room. Careful, Hobo, don't hit the wall. They manage to all get out safely, and Maloney, this move that started almost half a lap before, is still not complete.
Well, there we go, as the lead now comes down 0.3 of a second only. Forzan Elnabi is looking in his mirrors. He's got 5 laps to hold off Ethan Griggolt. And now, for the first time in this race, the 117 is looking for a race lead as he heads through turn 5. Forzan, you've got to be wise to this one. Car off, though, in the background even now. That's Benjamin Smith, who's gone around down at that section. They would have had the yellow flags for that out. But now you start wondering here, Ethan, where do you go for it? The hairpin may be the place where he goes and gets that one done. But it's now a waiting game.
Exactly. And you don't want to show your hand too soon. If he does it before the final lap, then, of course, it gives Elnabi a bit of a chance to come back at him. But you know, Ethan would have to put a bit of faith into what his tyres have left. And certainly with Elnabi making a mistake like that, that is going to help him massively. So now it's side by side for the lead down the front stretch. Elnabi with the better run, and he's got the inside for turn 1, but can Ethan hold on around the outside and get it done at turn 2? They're both on the brakes, or not quite. No, Elnabi cuts him off.
Well, the tyres are starting to go. Elnabi just locking it up then into the Gilligan's Island corner. Bang! Shot to the back from Ethan Griggolt. He knew he wants to get by. He sends a message. He says, Forzan, your tyres are shot. I want through A, S, A, and P.
I love these battles that eventuate at the end of races. They're always fantastic to watch in this series. A little bit of biffo didn't hurt anyone. Just don't go too far beyond that, guys. We want to see a photo finish here, and it looks like we're going to get one. Elnabi, you can tell he is struggling with the rear of that car. It's swinging around on the entry to the S's. Ethan Griggolt, though, he's just keeping it nice and smooth. That car is barely complaining at all. He has another little look. Oh, he's gone too deep. He's gone too deep. They make contact again. Elnabi half spinning, but Ethan Griggolt slowing up and letting them go on.
That would be classed as a redress then through that, because he did not gain a position. All this fighting will bring Harley back in. They made a 7-second gap to Harley Haber, and now they did 1:15.7 compared to a 14.4. Harley Haber's gap now down to 6 seconds. Probably not enough to chase to the end, but as one vehicle stops slowly, that's Dan Ackland, there in a little bit of issues. Ethan Griggolt cannot afford to make too much contact. Remember, incident points are vital right now, because they go over the limit, they start losing championship points.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they have to think about, the drivers. It's not just a case of going all out and racking up the incident points. You have to take care of it. You have to keep your eye on it, like in official series.
Oh,
and
look
it
at
can make
Burke.
a big difference in your championship at the end. What about Burke?
He's trying to go around the outside here. Brad Ratu at turn 5. I think he got the move done last lap. But Brad Ratu on the inside then trying to defend that position. They've lost contact to Thomas Hinn, so around the outside. Going to try and get this one done here with just 2 and a bit laps to go. And look at Brad Ratu with the power increase. He gets himself straight through, back into position where he needs. 2 laps to go now. Griggolt struggles out of Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, he does. He's fallen back behind. And these guys, Brad Ratu and Wayne Burke, continuing to fight, but I feel like it's only a matter of time here for this last position in the top 10. Burke going defensive. Crash in the background. We'll have a look at that in a second. And round the outside, can Wayne Burke do it at the hairpin? Not quite, but you can tell he's got a much better car underneath him.
He certainly does. It was Adam Briggs that we believe was the driver involved in the incident, and Adam Blocker as well. So this is right in the big thicket of the pack. So you can see, head themselves up through 3A and 3B. There's the concertina that comes up behind Maloney. Briggs is going to try and send one down the inside here in towards turn 4-5. Oh, 2 times up over the curb. Not much you can do there. passenger for Briggs, passenger for also one Adam Blocker. That was not ideal at all. And suddenly, when it comes to this race with a lap and a bit to go, Reese, very quickly, El Nabi is starting to stretch the legs. Grid Galt is broken.
Yeah, it looks like Ethan had a good run of pace in those last few laps, but the tyres have dropped off now. Maybe he was using everything that those tyres had left to try and get the move done on El Nabi, and that lock-up into the hairpin certainly wouldn't have helped matters. His tyres would have been brought down a bit more in terms of grip. Last lap, though, white flag. El Nabi has just enough of a lead to be slightly comfortable.
Well, he can be comfortable at the moment, but he knows that he's still got to drive well. He knows that the tyres were starting to go on that vehicle. He's got to manage them, though, all the way to the end. No worries from here. He has been pressured all race long in some form of capacity by Ethan Grid Galt, who has become the standard bearer when it comes to this series. El Nabi knows that he has that ability to go out there and race and pick up race victories. He has a Bathurst to his name, of all things, with Ross Rizzo, remember. He is a driver who is one of the best that you can find when it comes to an Australian touring car. As he heads himself now for the penultimate corners, he knows he's got to be absolutely on it like a rock. As he gets to the braking zone, there's probably nothing left to give as they go through this section. But Forzan El Nabi, it's nice and neat. It's a drag to the line and book your place in history. It's a first sprint victory for Forzan El Nabi, who wins race 1 at 1 fantastic Sonoma.
A brilliant job from El Nabi, and Ethan Grid Galt coming home 8/10 behind in second place. He gave it a red-hot go at that lead. Harley Haber makes it 2 United Esports cars on the podium in their first SCOPS race. What a great result for them. Jordan Caruso holding on for 6th, another good result.
Yeah, fantastic result. The last, more positions coming over the line. It's going to be a case for Danny Davison ahead of Simon Feigl as he gets himself over towards the end. Be happy, but look at Andrew Gilliam right now. He is not safe at all. He's got Sean Linsdale trying to find a position back here. This is going on at around 26th position here. Are you going to get a dive done down at the hairpin? No, we are. Yes, we are. There's a door open, but you're not going to go through there, Sean, are you? No, you're not. So they're going to run line and stern over to the line as they finish up their proceedings. What has been a monumental battle for the midfield today.
Yeah, those midfield battles were absolutely fantastic, and that's one thing that I think Sonoma is very good for, is those midfield battles. Really bunches them up, really tests what the drivers can do.
Well, testing the drivers was the key, and well, after this race, official classified results show how they were tested. Forzan El Nabi, it is a pole position, it is a race victory, it is every lap led as well, in effectively a perfect win in 30 minutes and 44 seconds. It was an 0.8 of a second margin to come the end over Ethan Grid Galt in second. Harley Haber also makes up for his issues at Montreal. He gets himself a podium here in the opening race. Cooper Webster, a very strong result, 11th up to 4th, with Brady Myers finishing in 5th. Jordan Caruso, a debut race for him, 6th position. I would say that's a star of the future potential for him. James Scott, the championship leader, only manages 7th come the end. Thomas Hinz into 8th, 9th for Bradley Ratu, and one of your biggest movers and shakers in the field, Wayne Burke, up 15 to get a top 10.
Danny Davison finishes 1 position up from where he started in 11th place. Simon Feigl making a great run from 27th to 12th. Michael Cracknell finishing in 13th position. Ethan Warren slipping back from 7th to 14th. Sam Sutton, one of the drivers to get a penalty in this one. He finishes ahead of where he started, but he won't be too happy with a top 15. Damian Johnston comes home in 16th place. Brenton Hobson will be wondering what might have been a top 5 start, but only 17th at the end. Jake Blackhall coming home in 18th position. Griffin Gardner, despite not setting a time, 19th position. Same for Jake Maloney.
Top 20 for him. Brad Ryan, 21st as he was beaten from pillar to post. Ross Rizzo had a spin, 22nd overall. Jamie Stovhold looked like he was going 1 position. That was backwards. He still gained 12, though, to get to 23rd. Ryan O'Sullivan, Andrew Gilliam, a big one. Got caught out in the instant with Brenton Hobson. He was on for a really strong result otherwise. Sean Linsdale couldn't get by him come the end, as you had the likes of Brett Loxton there with the Zuva racing car and the Zuvacorns that were on the machine. That's 27th with Talianchich 28th. Adam Blocker, he had a fantastic run defending off every man and his dog, and ultimately ended up as the dog's dinner in 29th position. 30th for Andrew Dyson. He got a turn. Rest of the drivers are a lap down or worse.
Yeah, the first of them is Benjamin Smith, classified in 31st position. Adam Briggs as well, along with Kenneth Latter, classified 33rd. Chris Coxhead, 5 laps down in 34th position. Tom Freer and Ian Bird joining him on that particular stat. Jordan Ross, 7 laps down, classified 37th. He'll be very disappointed with how that went for him after starting 15th. And your retirements from this one, Daniel Ackland, Brett Cananzi, Riley Blythe, and Corey Preston, who did not make it past lap 1.
Well, issues then on the opening couple of laps for a few drivers, but what we are going to do is step aside very briefly for a moment here on the iRacing Esports Network. When we come back, race 2, the final race of the night, the feature requires a pit stop, and it's going to be crucial because the grid will be announced when we come back.
to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
Gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Trunkett goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I trying, there's contact though.
Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God.
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS 2020 season. We're in the middle of limbo, some would say, between the first race and the second race, as we have a lot of important things that have just come up for us in terms of how things are stacking up. Jake Sperry in the commentary box, joined by Reese Gardner, Jay Kennedy on the cameras with replays provided by Motum Simulations here on the iRacing Esports Network, brought to you by a SimSpeed TV presentation. But we've got to talk about qualifying for this second race, Reese, because oh boy, it got close.
Oh boy, it did. It absolutely did. I mean, we already saw a great qualifying battle between Ethan Griggolt and Forzan Elnabi for the top spot, and with the grid now released for race 2, well, they were incredibly close again, but the positions were swapped.
They were, and the difference, get this, the difference in qualifying was a single thousandth of a second. So we know Ethan Griggolt will be on the pole. Forzan Elnabi will start from second. Gillian will go from third. Harley Haber from fourth. Hobson will go from fifth with Caruso sixth. Brady Myers seventh. Cooper Webster eighth. Ethan Warren ninth. And Brad Ryan rounding out the top 10. Some other notable names, keep in mind. Michael Taliancic starts from 12th. Hinty in 11th. Sam Sutton goes 13th. John Ross in 14th. James Scott starts as low as 17th in this race. And Wayne Burke goes from 20th. This is a tough field to gain positions in.
Yeah, absolutely is. We saw that in the first race, but we got to remember that the second race has a pit stop that may need to be taken over the course of a full green flag race. So there is an opportunity for things to get shuffled around a bit as well. Looking further down the field, the likes of Simon Feigl starting from 22nd position. Well, he managed to vault himself up the field more towards the end in race 1. So it's looking like it might be another case of that for him.
Well, it might be a case of a few drivers trying to vault. Maloney and Gardner will be trying to vault exactly the same way as they did earlier on in the racing. They'll be hoping that there are going to be maybe a few less issues that go on in terms of the racing. We will have, though, a chance to talk to an interview. Jamie McKnight joins us from United Esports and is stood by with Reese Gardner.
Yeah,
Good
it
evening, guys.
certainly is. G'day, Jamie. Welcome to the commentary box.
Thank you.
It's been a bit of a period of change in the sim racing community recently, particularly on the team front, in that there is effectively a new team now. You, Jared Filsell, and Dean Thrower at the helm of United Esports, and getting some good drivers along with you.
Well, look, I think that's an understatement. I mean, what a drive tonight from Forwardtown and Harley for his first ever Scops podium. Just firstly, just want to say thank you to the new teammates. We've just put in a super big effort this week. We've got all this together since Tuesday or Wednesday, so it's been a big week. But look, change is always good. Change is always dynamic, and I think it's brought something else to the game and another team in the front. So it's can only be good.
Yeah, certainly can. So, obviously, with the drivers that you've brought on and the results that you've shown so far, you're obviously aiming for pretty big things in V8SCOPS.
Well, look, that's 100% true, and V8SCOPS is our undeniable focus this year, as well as the 9/11 Cup World Championship with Jared. But I mean, sometimes quality is better than quantity, you know what I mean? And when you can just get a small group together who are all got the same focus and goals, it's amazing what can happen. And we built that set from scratch. I used it in my race, and I had a really strong race as well. But to see Forzan and Harley out there in my team colours, and Jared, Dean and myself, we're all in Discord. We were just like, this is amazing. It looks unreal. And thank you to Valvoline too for coming on as a big support, a big sponsorship for us.
Speaking of sponsorship, we should also talk about round sponsor for last round of Montreal and here at Sonoma, Ezy Finance. Tell us a bit about Ezy.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Ezy Finance is our brand new finance company under the Western Motor Group arm. It is a separate company. It's got its own credit license, separate everything. And we are pleased to advise that we are specialising in personal loans that are unsecured. So that is particularly aimed at people who want to buy $15,000 or $20,000 sim rigs but can't get the money together. We can finance a full kit from Brett from HRS or from Chin in Melbourne, and we can get that to you for $30 or $40 a week, and a lot of people can afford that. And look, as well as that, we've always just done car finance under the point of sale exemption with St George, but now we can do home loans, we can do excavation, we can do business, we can do everything. So we've got access to over 100 lenders via an aggregator, which is a business we've got into a partnership with. And all you've got to do is go to our website, email us your application, and our professional guys are the best in the business, so I'll get it approved for you in no time.
Excellent stuff to hear. Good stuff to hear. Ezy Finance doing all those amazing things for sim racers around Australia and car buyers, home buyers around Australia as well. Well, Jamie, leaving this for the moment, going into race 2, it's looking like El Nabi is starting in 2nd, Harley's starting 4th, and you're starting a bit further down the field, but looking for a repeat of race 1, I'd gather.
Look, a repeat of race 1 would be an absolute dream, but you know, we've got some strong competition out there. Don't forget, ERT I think had 3 or 4 drivers in the top 10, so they're always going to be strong, and I've got a lot of respect for the guys there. As you know, I was formerly the manager of the team and part of the team, so we're under no illusions that things are going to be easy every round. You know, all I can say is thank you for what we've already got, and whatever happens in race 2 is a bonus. Just hope the guys keep it clean out there. Ethan and Falls, and the battle they had was just brilliant. You know, they got into each other a little bit, but that's nothing. You know, that's what racing's about. And I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, we certainly enjoyed watching it too, Jamie. Well, we wish United the best of luck in race 2, and hopefully we'll chat to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to say kudos to Brenton too, and the boys over at ART. Everything's been done. We're all still friends, and congratulations to him and his team as well. Thank you.
Jamie McKnight there from United Esports and Ezy Finance as well. Sperry, it's excellent to see this level of support for the biggest sim racing series in Australia.
Exactly, and that is why we look at racing like this and say this is just how good it can be as we see this practice session come up. It's 10 minutes only, but they have a 42-lap race coming up, which is going to be incredibly important to get correct very, very swiftly for a lot of drivers. Now you've got to start wondering here, because points are aggregated by average position. You are going to pick up some points here, some points there. who is best placed when they come into this one, and who can afford to risk going for 50% moves, and who can't?
Yeah, that's the big question you have to ask. I mean, Greg Galt and El Nabi, you would imagine they would continue business as usual up the front. I reckon Harley Haber suffering a couple of issues in race 1, but still getting a podium. He's going to look to repeat that as well. Brenton Hobson and Michael Taliancic, I think, will be keeping their noses a bit cleaner in this one.
Well, they will be hoping so, and they will have 3 minutes to get themselves to a position where they can be in a happy position. I do want to actually take this time to wish a happy birthday to someone who is very near and dear to us in the Australian sim racing community. It is, by all my understanding, I believe it's Sandman's birthday today.
Yeah, happy birthday, Sandman. It's been a while since we've had you in the commentary box. Last time was Bathurst last year. Hopefully we can get that going again for the Enduros. Get the old Sandman pipes back into the commentary box. Happy birthday, mate.
Well, there we very much send our well wishes to someone who has been a staple and a legend of Australian sim racing and Australian sim racing commentary as well on top of that. But now you start thinking about, what do you do? We've seen how tough it is in turn 1, how difficult things can be. We know as well, with the fact that when you have a feature like this, an early safety car could mean so much to the way this race is run. We're expecting on strategy, the earliest you can pit is around lap 10 to get yourself over to the end. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a safety car that comes in, maybe lap 7, lap 8, it comes out. You might have a chance to get it home.
Yeah, you may just. It is possible to do a race on just one tank if you play your cards right. The pit stop is not mandatory in this. You just have the fuel restriction, which means you're probably going to have to stop. So it's going to all be about whether or not that safety car comes out in the first few laps and drivers get a bit of a chance to just ride the clutch down the hills, keep the revs low and save that fuel.
It's all about saving the fuel. It's all about saving the tyres, especially on a hot track here in Sonoma. So we'll see how that all plays out for these drivers. They look to make that push towards the early to mid part of the championship. That's where you get to round 3 and you start saying, well, now we can start gearing up, thinking about building a championship season together. I think that's what quite a few drivers are looking at, hoping, wanting to see out of those sorts of events here. And with half a minute to go, what are you expecting for this second race? Because I'm expecting fireworks and bonfires and all the rest of it.
I'm expecting at least one person to overshoot their pit box. There we go.
Well, that is the most conservative thing I think I've ever heard from you for a prediction, my friend. So let's see if your prediction does come true as we get ourselves to the finish of our practice session. It's going to be a lot quicker of a gridding procedure here for this second race, so we'll be very quick with the way that we run through our grids. But practice is over. Race 2 comes up right about, and now the grid will be up for you on your screen. It is, of course, going to be Ethan Greg Galt then on the pole position with Forza El Nabi alongside Andrew Gilliam and Harley Haber on row 2. Row 3, Brenton Hobson and the young Jordan Caruso with Brady Myers and Cooper Webster 7th and 8th. Ethan Warren 9th and Brad Ryan 10th.
Thomas Hens starting in 11th. Michael Taliancic joining him on row 6. Sam Sutton and Jordan Ross 13th and 14th. Danny Davison and James Scott, your championship leader, in 16th. Brad Ratu and Ross Rizzo on row 9. Top 20 rounded out by Wayne Burke and Chris Coxhead.
Well, rest of those drivers then are going to go on through on your screen as we get ready for action coming up very, very shortly here in terms of the way things are being raced. I believe one driver is going to be a little bit further down or has not taken to the start from around the mid-teen position. So we'll keep an eye on that then as the gridding procedure pretty much will come to an end right about now. Engine notes will rise for the second race and the final race of the night. 42 laps at Sonoma starts Now, long wait on the flag, and El Nabi's been caught out. Haber gets a good start, though, but so does Gilliam, who's going to go around the outside, bogging down. Second phase of acceleration for Haber struggles. Ethan Griggle a mile clear as they go towards turn 1. Are they clean through 2 as well as they go through? No real dramas. Hobson maybe with a little tap and a bit of contact in the background.
Yeah, a bit of contact in the background. That was a DPR Mustang going through into turn 1. That's a pile up at the back of the field. Adam Briggs, unfortunately, getting into the grass and into the rest of the field. Altus Esports as well. I believe that is Simon Feigl. Oh, and there's been some problems up in the chute. Drivers having a lot of trouble keeping that forward momentum. Sam Sutton's been knocked back a few spots. Jordan Ross versus Danny Davison. Oh my goodness, James Scott going round Danny Davison in the middle of the S's. He is looking to get up in those positions incredibly quickly, but up at the front of the field, it's single file.
It is single file at the front as they look to scrap it out. You got the 2 Altus cars followed by 2 ERT cars as Webster on the back of Caruso, Warren on the back of Myers. They all hit the brakes. Ryan's going to go, Tanania and back is the best way to describe that as they go through. And it's going to be almost contact on the exit here as Hinsey and Ross look to try and continue their battle from what happened a little bit earlier on in race number 1 before it was rudely interrupted by technical issues. But through they go, and there's not really too much that they need to worry about at the moment. But again, Jordan Ross well on the inside, and there is a gap there for what is going to be James Scott, and that is opportunistic. Even Edge would be happy about that overtake, and he would be the rated R superstar.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, James Scott taking advantage of that very nicely. A little bit of jostling further back. Danny Davison trying to protect from Wayne Burke, who gets a massive slide on out of the first turn of the chute. Oh my goodness, right into the rear quarter of Danny Davison. That's a big shame for the Exto Gaming guys and for One Performance Racing.
Well, you know that there is a redress happening here from Danny Davison and Wayne Burke, so Burke knows better than to just drive off into the distance and cop a penalty. He will sit, he will wait, and he will accept his punishment of being demoted to the back of the field. Dive down the inside. Here comes Hobbo, 88, trying to get it done here on the young Jordan Caruso, and Caruso's going to come straight back here, and they head through the left-hand kink, coming along to end the lap, and Caruso's got the inside for the next kick, but can Hobbo keep himself in check? Almost door-to-door contact as they go up the hill, looking towards the right here of turn number 2, and I believe that is position sealed from Brandon Hobson at the cost of the train.
Yes, he has lost touch there with Cooper Webster up ahead, but fortunately he is now ahead of Jordan Caruso, for now at least. He'll be looking to maintain that position until the pit stops. Brad Ratu and Brett Loxton, meanwhile, battling for 15th and 16th. Getting a face full of Exto Gaming Holden Commodore there is Brett Loxton. You could just see how tight this thing is from that perspective.
Look at Brad Ryan side by side with Taliantis through the entire S's as they continue to go side by side. Now you're stuck on the outside here, Brad. I don't think you've got enough of an angle for the inside here at the very ferocious right-hander that comes up at turn 8. So through he goes, but he will now dive, hard to the inside, trying to look for it. And on the outside then, Constantina. And there's the ERT car getting involved in there. That's James Scott, the championship leader, there having his own little bit of argy-bargy with Ross and Hines on the back of that as well. They somehow get themselves going through, and Jordan Ross there just about, I think, getting away with things.
And news from race control meanwhile. We saw that incident on the opening lap with Adam Briggs in turn 1. He has been given a drive-through for causing that lap 1 incident. So race control already on the case.
They are, and they are doing a fantastic job of things. Andrew Gilliam in 4th, and then you've got yourself Myers and Warren, their 5th and 6th lines together at the moment as a drive-through penalty gets called through the system at the moment as they go through. So Briggs got one, and Jordan Ross is the one who gets a penalty. So from a disaster in one sense, he goes straight to the other type of disaster, the one that's self-inflicted.
Yeah, big shame for Jordan Ross, but at least he is still able to get out there on track and consolidate whatever position he can get. He didn't have that luxury in race 1.
No, he certainly didn't, and now he knows better than anybody else what he needs to do. That's come down onto the lane, drive through that pit lane, and then have to make another stop a little later on in this race. So that's going to really hurt any progress that he wants to make. But he's just got to stay calm and make sure he gets himself through. It's a deceptively long pit lane here at Sonoma. It goes all the way from the final corner at Gilligan's Island all the way up forward as they move on through. And Harley Haber actually has just dropped the second now to Forza Nanabi, who is doing exactly what Greg Galt did in race 1, staying within that 1 second margin just about and keeping himself very honest.
Yeah, the shoe may very well be on the other foot now at the front of the field, but Harley Haber trying his best here, and he's facing an awful lot of pressure now from Andrew Gilliam, who's finally getting a chance to strut his stuff towards the front of the field. Meanwhile, that battle in the background, Thomas Hins and the like. Have a look at this long train of cars going through the S's. There's no space to find any kind of spot to rest.
No, you're absolutely right. You've got to be absolutely onwards. It's 10th backwards. That pretty much sums up this train to 36th position. So that is a 26-car train, effectively all within a second of each other, there or thereabouts. Simon Feigl under pressure, though. This is Wayne Burke trying to go down to the inside and pick one up. He is going to do so, as is trying to Jake Maloney. So Burke gets his position. Now what about you, Maloney, here? Trying to get past Daniel Ackland to try and get it done, but Ackland having absolutely none of it. Try and open up a way to the outside. Oh, that was very aggressive in the way that he was stamping on the brakes. There was Maloney. That is not kosher, but it's still, I'll stay behind and wait for another chance.
Yeah, he had the opportunity to pick up the throttle there and get the move completed, but looks like he just decided to stay behind and not risk it. But you can tell he's having little looks in every single braking zone, very eager to get past Ackland, because he is now the cork in the bottle. Jamie Stovold is the next car out of those guys, just disappeared out of the frame then in the green car. So these guys are really wanting to get past Ackland at the moment.
Well, Dan Ackland's going to make life as tough as possible for drivers to try and get through, and he knows that better than anybody else then. Out in this field as top twos to go through, and the lead has closed to half a second over this lap. So that was a mistake somewhere then from Ethan Griggold. Did a 12.3 that last time by, and I haven't caught exactly where that mistake has come about from him. So for Ethan Griggold, you now got a battle for 1 and 2, for 3 and 4, for 5 and 6, and for 8 and 9 as well.
2 by 2 through the field, nice to see. Well, that's interesting from Ethan Griggold, because I did go back through his last lap and I didn't see any isolated incidents. So I feel like maybe he's just still getting used to the way the tyres are heating up in this particular stage. It's similar conditions to what we saw in race 1, 44-degree track temperature and southerly wind at about 18 kilometers an hour. So they got a bit of practice in race 1, but again, they got to think about the differing fuel load too.
They absolutely do, and they've got to think about strategy. We're already on lap 7 here of this race as drivers up and down the field look to try and gain positions, as this is James Scott trying to gain a position right now, and it will be on Brad Ryan as he thinks about the inside, and there's no room at the inn to get that one done. Trying to open up the door on the exit there. That's not going to work. You're going to have to find a different way. You want to get that one done. Battle at the back of that pack, though. Behind top three, Sam Sutton has put one over on Andrew Dyson.
Yeah, Sutton doing all right here at the moment, despite falling back through the field. And Andrew Dyson, another one of those guys that will be looking to make something better out of this. Modem Simulation replay as we continue. Dyson being the split one winner, he would have expected much more out of this one. Here's the move that Sutton put on him. It looks like a pretty textbook move up the inside at the hairpin. Oh, with a little bit of contact. Maybe not completely textbook.
Not completely with the textbook, but sometimes you exercise your liberties in application, some would say. So the split 2 winner ultimately finds himself 1 position down on where he was. Look at Andrew Gilliam, though. He's wanting to get by Harley Haber very, very quickly. On the brakes they go. That's not happening. Also not happening is Brady Myers versus Ethan Warren. Myers went off at the end of 3B on that last lap, so he's got to try and gather up some pace one more time as they go through, as they look to try and continue to gain positions out on track. I wonder at this stage, when is the right call come down in and make a pit stop.
It all depends on where you are on track, who's in front of you, who's behind you. I reckon if you're stuck behind someone and it's coming up to the pit window, you dive in, because there's definitely potential for an undercut situation.
There certainly is potential for the undercut, but the overcut can be just as effective in these vehicles, but the hot conditions make life very difficult to predict which way is going to be the right one. Should you stay or should you go? Well, sometimes even I wouldn't be able to let you know in terms of that. Corey Preston gets a lot of angles. He looks to search for a little bit of a gap, and this is something that doesn't often get talked about here, as Wayne Burke all of a sudden starts to get himself just a little bit aggressive at the moment out on track, as he's trying to get by Kenneth Latter and co, and actually just has. Engine temperatures, how important are they to deal with in these vehicles?
Well, these cars have a red line of 7,500 RPM. They can take quite a beating, and you often see drivers in the real life cars using the engine braking a lot, keeping the revs high on the downshifts, and you often wonder why those engines don't blow faster than they do. We have seen quite a lot of engine blows in V8SCOPS over the years, but I don't think many of them have been due to engine temperature from following behind another car. That said, a place like this, you're not on throttle for that long, you're traveling at a slow rate of speed, and there's not much of an opportunity along straight for you to get some extra air into the engine. So again, it's a balancing act.
It is a balancing act. Tom Freer's trying to learn that balancing act. He just tight-roped on two wheels through turn 4, and now at 5, there's a gap, and it's not going to be opened up then for one Sam Sutton. So Tom Freer very much says, no, you're waiting. I may be trying to Dukes of Hazzard my way around this course, but you're not finding a way through.
Modem simulation replay of that maneuver and getting a bit of that slow-mo action, which we always love. That's how Tom Freer went on a grand adventure through the chute. And as we're on this replay, Sutton has actually managed to dive up the inside of him at the hairpin. But just goes to show these curbs, very usable at the circuit, but very harsh too. And that is the replay then of Sam Sutton making his way by.
Yeah, very comfortable move down at the hairpin. Sam Sutton likes that place to overtake, it seems, as we keep an eye out on what's happening nearer the front of the field. Ethan Griggold happy, but look at this, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th at the moment. The fight for the podium on. Harley Haber, who's known more for being an offensive driver rather than a defensive driver, but I wouldn't have said at this point that he's been threatened. I wonder whether Andrew Gilliam is just sitting behind, happy to save that fuel.
I reckon he is, because you have a look at the last lap times that all these guys did. Haber and Gilliam both did low 113s, almost 13 flat. Last lap for Brady Myers and Ethan Warren behind, they were both in the high 112s. They took 3/10 out of them on the last lap.
Yeah, and that's going to be very key for the way...
We seem to have lost Jake Sperry briefly. We apologise for this brief glitch, but side by side then between Jake Maloney and Jamie Stovall down the front stretch. Stovall to the inside line then coming into the first turn. Maloney still trying to fire one up the inside. He's not going to quite get it done. Stovall having the inside for 3A, but can Maloney, my goodness, just get around the outside of 3A and park it on the apex? Possibly. Here comes Stovall once again, trying to dive around the inside, coming into the chute. No, backs out of it. So Maloney continuing on. Oh, and that is a big move there from Griffin Gardner, trying to get himself ahead of Jamie Stovall here. And Stovall just not quite able to hold on. You can see in the level of grip that he has, not quite up to the standard of everyone else around him. So Gardner is free, Maloney is free. That's a huge gap that he's managed to eke out already. What can Ryan O'Sullivan do, meanwhile, at the hairpin? This is down for the lower positions in the top 30, but still incredibly incredibly close quarters. Wayne Burke jumping into the pits then. He is making sure that he gets himself out of those battle packs. And then finally, managed to apparently get Jake Sperry back. Are you there, Sperry? Do you have us? No, apparently not. We apologize once again. We look again at the battle for third and fourth, Andrew Gilliam and Harley Haber, and I think it is obvious that Gilliam now is hanging back versus Haber, waiting for that pit window to open, making sure that that he has a little bit of extra fuel to get towards the end, not diving for the pits this time around, and it looks like no one in the top 6 has decided to take that chance just yet.
No, it certainly doesn't look like that at the moment as they continue on their scraps right now and they look at their battles. You got James Scott and Brad Ryan going at it, 11th and 12th position now, looking at hoping that their positions are going to be good, they are going to change, they are going to be in a nice position at the moment as they head up the hill once again towards turns 2 out on track. See, they're trying to take as little curb as possible on that left-hand side to flick it right into that second corner, and for the time being it seems like the Evolution Racing Team car doing an okay job of things for the time being in 11th, but you surely have to feel right now that the Triple Eight would want just a little bit more than 11th place, stuck 2 seconds behind Michael Taliancic.
Yeah, unfortunately, not the best run here for James Scott. He would have been wanting more out of this so far, but it's only one round and it's still early days in the season, so there's still time for him to get it back. There's a battle behind. Bradley Ratu and Brett Loxton still going at it, this time for position 14. Loxton has not managed to find a way past Ratu just yet, and thinking out loud, he might be employing the same strategy that we think Andrew Gilliam might be.
Yep, and that is just sit, just wait, and hope that everything works out so they can see how everything's going. And I wonder as well, with those Zuva racing cars like Brett Loxton and co, whether we can get a special Zuvacorn camera set up at all on those vehicles. We'll see if that is possible for the next rounds or so. But Thomas Hinds, currently 13th, trying to find himself a way through at the moment. Chris Coxhead becomes one of the first to dive down in and make a stop.
Yeah, so following Wayne Burke in from the previous lap, we'll see where Coxhead comes out in the midst of all of this. Meanwhile, the battles continue out on track. Thomas Hinds in P13 trying to chase down Brad Ryan, who's trying to chase down James Scott. They're in a nice little three-way pack, these guys, but they got a lot of cars behind them that look pretty angry.
And those drivers will want those positions, P, D, and Q, if they are going to get themselves through. So we'll keep an eye out on this as they look to try and continue on their battle. Car around. That's Tom Freer in the Pursuit Sim Racing car, and that does not look very healthy there at turn 5. So let's get a Motum Simulation replay to see exactly what's happened there with Mr. Freer as he has gone through in his scrap with an ERT car here, and that would probably be Ryan O'Sullivan he's up against. Oh, it's two wheels again. Riley Blythe even. He goes through, he tries to defend the position. Oh, he got the turn.
Yeah, Andrew Dyson making rear-end contact with him there on the run-up to the hairpin. So, and almost getting a bit of a tap on the rear himself. We'll have a look at from Dyson's view. Our Super Split 2 winner not having a great day out there. You see those two cars checking each other up, and Dyson, I think, was not expecting Freer to continue going to the right.
And I think Riley Blythe was lucky that he kept that car on the road because they go through and just around the outside, Dyson gets a 2-for-1 special at the supermarket. He'll be happy that he's got himself those positions. They look to continue on forward here with their race. So James Scott, Brad Ryan, still close, but not close enough at the moment for this to be a position changer, so to speak. But keep an eye on the leaders, though, at the moment, because Grigol and El Nabi, they're staying within a second. I wonder if Forzan's saving the fuel.
Yeah, he'd have to be. He'd have to be because, you save a bit extra fuel. There's not too many opportunities around this place to do it, but you can roll through a lot of the corners, maybe use a higher gear as well. That would certainly help things. Brad Ryan with a couple of issues.
No, with a chance to go around the outside, but it doesn't quite work out. So James Scott was close, but no cigars just yet as he holds and maintains his position at the moment at the front of the field. Thomas Hinds just behind there. You got Brad Ratu, Brett Loxton, Cracknell, Rizzo, Blackhall and co. All there sitting, waiting, hoping that their next position is going to come up on lap 17 of 42 as we are pretty much in the early stages of pit window time. As out of pit road comes Tom Freer after dealing with the damage. No fast repairs, remember, in this series. If you break it, you bought it.
Yeah, exactly right. And that was Brad Ryan trying another move there on James Scott, but falling back just slightly. And Loxton and Ratu starting to really catch up now to the back of the Ryan and Hinds battle. Jamie Stovall in the pits as well.
Yep, so Jamie Stovall finds himself down on pit lane as many more drivers look to continue on their scraps. Hopefully, those positions become vital. So Stovall down on the lane isn't ideal for him. I wonder if he had an issue out on track, because it looks like he's been there for a little while, I think is the right wording for it. I think Stovall made him have an issue. He's been there for at least over a minute.
Yeah, that's odd to see. Well, obviously signs of a greater problem in that car, so hopefully he manages to get back out at some point. But for 16th and 17th, Michael Cracknell and Ross Rizzo. And Ross, we did see he came a cropper a couple of times in race one, but he's got a good consistent run going here and looking for a move on Michael Cracknell, diving up the inside and getting that move done beautifully.
Well, Crackers left enough room for a full Christmas dinner on the inside if you wanted it. So that for Michael Cracknell is a position lost. But next up in the trains is going to be what's looking at next. Because you've got Loxton and Ratu still going after the course. And then you've got the Hinds battles going on. In comes Brad Ryan. He decides it's time to make the stop. Loxton's decided also it's time to make a stop as well. So both of them deciding time to get on the lane, as does Hobbo.
Yes, indeed. So Hobson making that line towards his pit box as short as he possibly can. And remember, Hobson was in the upper reaches of the top 10 before he came into the pits. So we'll have to wait and see what these pit stop times are. The clock will tell all.
I've just noticed that the Altus cars have changed position, so that is a couple of laps ago at least now. So Ethan Warren ahead of Brady Myers.
Yeah, and we're hearing no further action from the stewards between Tom Freer and Andrew Dyson. Deemed a racing incident, obviously. Back out of the pits is Brenton Hoffman, and a replay of an issue for someone at turn one. Oh my goodness, the number 67 of Riley Blythe in the dirt once again.
That's not good. This is going to be with Griffin Gardner here as they head themselves up the hill. And, well, how tough was the defence? He sort of didn't have a nose to the inside, didn't get alongside the A pillar, which I think many people would call the give me room pillar. Some very much would say in the code of conduct for racing. So Riley Blythe is very, very good up on the brakes. There's a nose, and that's about it. There's a nose.
Yeah, he'd already changed his trajectory towards the center of the corner by the time Griffin Gardner had gotten to him. So that's a shame there for Riley Blythe, as there are now heaps of cars in the pits, a huge amount, at least 10. Damian Johnston, Corey Preston, Michael Cracknell, Thomas Hinds, James Scott is in there as well. Cooper Webster just coming out of his stop. Jordan Caruso will be coming off the jacks presently. And they're all making their way out now. Who's going to be the big winner here?
Well, Cooper Webster's in the middle of a train. I'd say he's a loser right now. He's fighting along with his teammates. Adam Blocker there with Riley Blythe, who's got a big kick of oversteer, and suddenly Blocker is going to dive to the inside. Don't come together, boys. As they go through that section, it's all nice and dandy. Look at that from Blocker, trying to get himself down the inside. And here comes Cooper Webster, who says thank you on the Mark 1 car, who is going through it. Oh, a little check up there. And there they go through as they all dive down through. And the leading two have come down in. El Nami and Greg Galt are in, which means now, also with Harley Haber in, Andrew Gilliam takes the race lead.
Yes, indeed. So this is going to be a bit of an opportunity for some clear air running for Andrew, but he might jump into the pits on the next lap because his opportunity to fuel save is over for now. Michael Taliancic up into fourth. He is not pitted yet. Griffin Gardner coming by as well. He is not pitted yet either.
Well, a tough pit stop there for Forzan El Nabi because he was dealing with technical issues, and he comes out. Haber comes out in clean air, but it was a 2-second long stop for Harley Haber. But look at Greg Gold. He's come out with Danny Davison, and Danny doesn't want to give him it here. So Danny, don't you know that he's the net race leader and he's cool on the inside? But now you try and think about it. Ethan Greg Gold has been held up.
He certainly has, and he's got cold tyres to deal with as well, so he won't be able to get the maximum pace out of that thing. Davison, that was going to happen at some point. Davison, I don't think, realised that Greg Galt was going for the move. Both the leaders make their way past him, but I don't know how race control is going to look at that.
Oh, well, dear me, Danny Davison was playing with some fire. He has been burnt, but was he the catalyst to all of this? That's the question that the stewards have a big responsibility to work with here, as in comes the likes of Andrew Dyson, Sam Sutton, pit lane penalty for Griffin Gardner for his incident. All the other drivers in on lap 22, Ethan Warren, Brady Myers, and also Andrew Gilliam down in on the lane. Off of the jacks goes Gilliam, and there goes Ethan Greg Galt. There goes Forzan El Nabi, and crucially, there is Harley Haber. So he's third, Harley Haber's fifth.
Wow. So Brady Myers with the quickest stop out of anyone so far, out of basically the entire field, pipping Harley Haber there. Excellent stuff to see. 2 seconds quicker than Forzan El Nabi's pit stop.
4 seconds stop quicker than Harley Haber. That's why he's lost all that ground and lost all that time. But the leading three close together, and Ethan Greg Galt pending stewards review. It is currently under investigation at the moment by the race stewards, Michael Korolev and Simon Black. So it very much the race could be in their hands at the moment. But look at Harley Haber now, immediately thinking, well, we're at 22 and 42, we're just over half distance. I've got to find a way through. No room at the end, down the inside of turn 8 as they head over to Gilligan's Island, thinking about a move. It is defended here, and very much it's a case of, well, how much are we crossing the beams? Wide goes Myers, and thank you, says Harley Haber. He'll still have to fight all the way to turn 1, but I'm sure Brady's not going to give him much room here. And look how narrow he is through on the inside. This is some brilliant scrapping, and Haber ran the outside. 8 traded as they go up onto the brakes, and Haber, I think, may just have this one sorted as he on the exit. Good power, he's got it.
Excellent stuff. A bit of a slide there from Brady Myers, but Harley on the 1 lap fresher tyres or so, managing to get it done. And I must say, that was a pretty clean move. Props.
Yeah, big props. Very big props there for that move for Harley Haber. And now look at the back of the train. Myers, Warren, and Cooper Webster now on the back of this one. This is a big little pack that they're looking at. It sounds like I'm trying to say Little Big Planet ever so slightly as they go through and deal with it. In comes Ross Rizzo and Corey Preston in the wall.
How did Corey Preston get there? You are not supposed to be on that side of the wall. This happened in turn 1. Let's see what happened. He might have got vaulted over the barrier. Andrew Dyson making a bit of contact with him there, and Preston just unable to control it. Smashes into the bank. Airborne he goes, and ends up on the longer road course as a result.
That's an 8 out of 10 for me for style and flair. That was a very nice crash, and I will give that props. Ross Rizzo.
Oh my goodness. Nearly rolled it too, recovering to Corey Preston. We're going to get another replay of that. Sorry, Corey, but this is something we don't usually see every day. Making his way through 3 and 3A and up onto those 3 wheels over the curb and over that rise. The car goes so light over there.
It's less than 3. That's 2. Oh, look at that for a shot. Cameraman, give yourself some props. I'll give you a bonus if you want for that. That was a fantastic shot through that section. 2 wheels, and I would say even less than that as they went on forward. Oh, here's the battles going on. Hinsey and Scott side by side. Caruso trying to get by Chris Coxhead here, but it's Hinsey at the moment holding off James Scott, who's not looking too happy at the moment, being stuck behind.
Yeah, James Scott having to face up against cars in front of him again, not where he wants to be. And oh, no, that's Ross Rizzo there going slow on the chute. Must have had a spin at some point. So he's going to have to contend with Daniel Ackland. Modem simulation replay then. Let's see what happened to Rizzo in the 7-8 floor.
Well, here's the replay then, and we're going to see this as Harley Haber goes purple in 4th position. So Rizzo, he misses the apex, carries too much speed, and well, Tricky Sports car decides to go for another one of those patented half spins that Holden has very much done over the course of the racing. So unlucky, my friend Ross, who's been a fixture from time to time over here at SimSpeed TV, but behind the wheel, it sometimes is fair to say sometimes it's the one that I don't really want to say, which is the adage about racing drivers and commentators.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that always comes up every so often. Well, James Scott, he's looking very heavy on the brakes versus Thomas Hins. And up at the front, our last car not to pit, Jake Maloney, is now in the pits.
Yep, and that's crucial because that releases Ethan Grigol, who did have an 8/10 advantage over Forzen El Nabi, and that gap will stay relatively the same. Didn't have to get around Maloney on lap 25 of 42 as they go through. The gap remains 8/10 of a second, but once more, Harley Haber, 1:11.7, fastest man on track. This is the Harley Haber we know. He's 5 seconds off the race lead. He's 2 seconds off of Andrew Gilliam. And Gilliam himself is closing in a 10th a lap here on El Nabi and Griggold.
So this second stage of the race is where things really get interesting because we've had some varying fuel loads all throughout the field. 14.1 second stop for Griggold, 15.5 for El Nabi, Andrew Gilliam a 14.3 second stop. So roughly in the territory of Ethan Griggold, but he seems to have a lot of confidence in that car in the middle of the race.
Yeah, that middle of the race is going to be so key. Maloney is out of pit road and he finds himself with Andrew Dyson at the moment as Tom Freer even lets it both of them go through. Behind that is Ryan O'Sullivan who wants in, and Dyson there seeing Maloney having to defend here is going to try and go around the outside, pick a pocket to the inside with power on the exit maybe. Nope, it's always turning left, so you're always against the grain, so to speak. So Andrew Dyson, you are waiting, my friend.
Yeah, the issue with that section of the S's is you pretty much got a straight line in order to have the best run through. And if you're on that left side of the track, you're where the rubber is in that particular stretch. So you will have the advantage. Adam Blocker, meanwhile, we ride on board with. He's chasing down the embattled Riley Blythe. And these two guys, they've certainly been in the wars in this event tonight.
They certainly have been. But as they go through and look at more battles, replay then up on screen. This is what happened with Andrew Dyson. He continued his scrap actually all the way to that section. Or was he pushing himself through turn 8? There was a slightly wider line being taken, and he goes for the long route around Jake Maloney, and it ultimately goes far too deep and finds somewhere around Siberia. He's gone so far off, he's found a corner at Phillip Island here at Reese.
Yeah, definitely has. He's got a bit of a way to go to Lukey Heights, though, as we look at Ethan Warren and Cooper Webster. Ethan Warren turning out to be the rear gunner here for Altus Esports, but does have an Evolution Racing Team car in the middle of this sandwich. He'll be looking to make a difference for that before the end of this one.
Yeah, and needs to get back through on Cooper Webster, who's already gone through on this stint, which is crucial, as 117 gets a pit lane penalty. Ethan Grigol is going to have to go down onto the lane, and all of a sudden, it's another decision for Ethan Grigol now that puts him at jeopardy, at risk. I thought that was a 50-50 incident there, and it was very tough to call it one way or the other. Stewards have ruled in favour of Ethan Grigol, and now his race is suddenly damage limitation.
Yeah, it's a repeat of Montreal, isn't it? Well, he's not going to go into the pits just yet, probably giving a bit of time to maybe appeal the decision, see if they can get race control to see their point of view. But I tell you what, when he eventually does get down into the lane, he'll lose a whole lot of positions. I don't even think he'll be good for a top 10 at this rate.
Well, 10th position's 20 seconds, and that is where Brad Ryan is in the 96 machine. So it's going to be close, but you have to remember as well about paces. Brady Myers, he's in the wall.
Brady got into the wall on the front straight. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a look at a modem simulation replay then, see what happened to him. He was up at the front of that train, as I was saying just before. So what happened to him down the front stretch? Concrete walls on either side. And, no, it's just he slowed down for some reason. No, well, apparently he's got a lot of damage.
Has he done it into turn 9 down at Gilligan's Island? We might have to rename that Myers Island. Oh, he got it all wrong on the grass. Couldn't gather it back up together, and he has slammed pretty much side on into that section. He's very, very fortunate that it's sim racing, because that would have been a teetotaler if he got himself through. Gets himself on the grass, and bang! Into the wall he goes.
And that's at one of the fastest turns on the circuit too. The concrete wall juts right out there. Yep. So, and I wouldn't blame him for doing that. As we take a look at our leaders once again, who have found their way into some traffic. Corey Preston letting these guys go eventually, and still a question mark hanging over when Ethan Grigolt's going to take that drive through. Oh, yeah. It's going to be expedited a little bit, I think, because he just caught the grass on the entry to the chute, losing a bit of pace here. Look at El Nabi up the inside of Preston. I don't know if El Nabi knows about Grigolt's drive-through penalty, but he's got quite the chance here.
He will. It's been confirmed by Michael Korolev. When it comes to penalties and everything like that, it's put over the in-sim radio communication, so everybody knows that penalty is called. He knows Ethan Grigolt has a drive-through penalty. Will he go and serve it this lap? Yes, he will. Look at that, all the tow being used by Forzan, who very nearly got duped. But all of that holding up there from Ethan Grigolt is bringing this race back into repute for Andrew Gilliam, who's coming back in. And side by side, Ethan Warren down the inside of the young Cooper Webster. But Webster's having none of it here, as he will fight back on that inside through the final kink of the final corner.
Yeah, that outside line in the hairpin gives you a bit of an extra run, bit of an extra straight line boost, which is what Webster used to stay ahead of Ethan Warren there, but you can tell it's only a matter of time before that battle eventuates in some way. Grigolt back out onto the track in 8th place, so not quite as bad as I thought it would be. He lost 18 seconds out of that, though.
Well, 18 seconds only. Also, there's this battle going on. Brenton Hobson is in the magic spot, the mean position, 6th place. He always finishes 6th for some reason. And now he's got to try and defend against Michael Taliancic here for Pursuit, who is having a very underrated but brilliant drive.
Yeah, Taliancic has been really good in this round. Griffin Gardner coming into it, and he is serving his drive-through penalty after goodness knows how long since that penalty was called. But good stuff from Hobson and Taliancic in this one. But Ethan Warren and Cooper Webster still going at it. Ethan shows him the nose again up the inside. Will Webster be able to hook up the throttle and get the run down the straight again? He will, and he's using all the track that he possibly can in this circumstance.
Well, Ethan's got to be brave if he wants to make this move, and he's trying it here around the outside. Has he got a nose to the inside? No, he thought better of it there through that section. Hoped that there was going to be a little bit of a wider line from Webster, but he is not perturbed here in the battle for 4th position out on the road. Gap, though, for the leaders has come down a fair bit. It's now 1.2 seconds for Andrew Gilliam. He's not out of the woods just yet. Forzan El Nabi's going to have to defend exactly the same way that he did earlier on today against Ethan Grigolt.
Yeah, it's a good turn of pace that Gilliam's got, a 12.8 on the last lap versus a 13.0 for El Nabi. So with under 10 laps to go, next time by, it's going to be crunch time for both Gilliam and El Nabi, especially crunch time for the two guys we were just looking at, Webster and Warren.
I've just noticed that Jordan Caruso's been on pit lane for about 5 laps, and that is a shame to see his race pretty much all but done at this point in time. So
heavy damage
we'll see
too.
how that one goes through, and it was very heavy damage right now. Look at Ethan Griggolt, because Hobson has just pulled the almighty diamond corner at Gilligan's Island right now, with Michael Talianchis behind and suddenly Ethan Griggolt. This is going to be a tough battle here for Ethan to get through. He can't afford to let the red mist descend like he did at Montreal and have that incident on the last lap with Sam Blacklock like he did.
Yeah, for sure. Red mist is going to be an issue, especially at a track like this, very cramped, very tight, very twisty. You don't have much time to think and to calm yourself down after an incident. Not only that, but Ethan's trundle through the pit lane would have taken some heat out of his tyres, so he would have had to battle slightly to get them back up into an operating range in the first half of this one.
Speaking of battle slightly, 4-car battle pack behind Wayne Burke. He's got Damian Johnstone, Jake Blackall, and Jake Maloney. So 2 Jakes and a Damian to hold behind. And at the moment, it seems like it's the Gone Road car, which seems a little bit closer to making that move than any of the others out there at the moment. You've got the CQR car behind, and then the Trans-Tasman machine looking to try and gain positions. But ultimately, these drivers all in their own little scrap, trying to pick up, well, how about one more position? How about another one more position?
It's going to hopefully be 2 positions for Ethan Griggolt by the end of this one, but he remains behind Taliancic and Hobson. There's the view from his dashboard coming up into turn 1, and you see how much the drivers work the brakes from these onboard views. You're riding the brakes and you're just easing them into the corners. These cars are 1.5 tons in weight, and their tires aren't the grippiest in the world, so you've really got to coax them around a track like this. It's enough to do that. Making a move is another thing entirely. Ethan Griggolt not quite able to get the run, but he's going to go up the inside, show the nose to Taliancic, but Taliancic having the run on the grippy tarmac. Griggolt getting frustrated.
That's a good little pinch there from Michael Taliancic. He knew what he needed to do to hold Griggolt behind him, and as such, he now starts to focus from the offensive mind to the defensive mind. Exactly what Brenton Hobson wanted. Look how close Ethan Griggolt is, as he now looks to maybe motion for a move to the inside. It was thought about defending there from Taliancic, but he thinks better of it. If I let Griggolt through, I might have a better chance of getting past Hobbo here, who is in that mean 6th position, which Brenton Hobson does so many times in so many races, but not quite enough there for Taliancic. He drops back another position, which he will not be best pleased about at the moment. I am keeping an eye on Andrew Gilliam right now, because this is very, very crucial for how this race is being run. He is not being let up by the lap traffic, which is Griffin Gardner, who is showing he has equal pace.
Yeah, of course. Adam Briggs at the moment in front of Forzan El Nabi and doing times in the 13.8s, but yeah, Griffin Gardner doing 13.0s at the moment and harassing the back of Gilliam there. El Nabi seems pretty comfortable up in that top position, but you know, Gilliam could have some trouble coming if Griffin Gardner decides, no, I would like to finish on the lead lap.
A nice diamonded corner then from Forzan as they go through. That gap looks like it's under a second now as they make their way over the start-finish line. Gap has come down as they go over. It comes down to 0.8 of a second. Andrew Gilliam with a 12.9 at this time of day. With this sort of conditions, he knows he's trying to put everything together right now and make sure that his race is running absolutely swimmingly here. Harley Haber on an island in 3rd position. 4th and 5th still going on between Webster and Warren, but that has cooled somewhat, a little bit more dramatically, I should say. Nice little battle towards the rear of the field, though. You've got Chris Coxon, who's 2 laps down. You've got Jordan Ross, you've got Simon Feigl, you've got Sean Linsdale, and you've got Daniel Ackland as well, all of whom in a scrap with Kenneth Latter leading the train.
Just goes to show that wherever you are in the field in a V8SCOPS race, you're going to have someone to battle with. Latter up there, and oh my goodness, Thomas Hins versus James Scott here for the last position in the top 10. That's going to be interesting. Hinsy's looking quite pacey.
He is looking more than quite pacey, I would have said. I think he's looking incredibly pacey as he looks to get aggressive here over the curves, trying to attack the ERT car, which bobbles over that right-hand curb. That's James Scott, the championship leader, mind you. And what a big shame it would be for him to go from victory at Montreal to finishing outside of the top 10 here at Sonoma. So very much a case of differences for these drivers, as on the brakes they go into Gilligan's Island at the moment. Not close enough to make that move. Gap for the race lead down to half a second.
Yeah, half a second there. And that can make all the difference. Just have a look at that lead. El Nabi starting to fall back into the clutches of Andrew Gilliam. 13-4 on the last one from Gilliam, a 13-6 from El Nabi. And this battle between Webster and Warren for fourth is still just as bumper to bumper as it's always been. 0.3 of a second.
It's always been 0.3 over the start-finish line, and that has been crucial in terms of the way that this race has been run. Greg Galt as well, he's caught the back of Brenton Hobson. He'll want that position, and he'll want that position pretty quickly if he wants it. So we'll see how this one plays out. On the brakes they go into the hairpin once again, and once more it's a case of a slight issue for one Mr. Andrew Gilliam on the power. Had to make a slight correction there with oversteer as he now looks to go through. That gap remains at 0.5 of a second, 13.3 from Gilliam that last time by, starting to hit an ever so slight dirty air effect behind in terms of his scrap at the moment. And if you want to talk manufacturer, it is, of course, two Holdens going at it here for the race win.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised by the amount of ZB Commodores that we see in this field. There was a fair amount of them driving the Mustang to start off with, but it seems to have gone a bit more to a 50-50 split. But these guys won't be worrying about that. It's largely just preference when it comes to choosing a manufacturer. The cars are exactly the same in terms of the physics.
Yeah, they are built exactly the same to dynamics as to make sure there is no arguments in any series around parity or anything like that, which seemingly comes up every time. Yes, that dreaded P word, which I'm sure you've talked about far too many times on your Talking Motorsports podcast, which of course you can catch in the Australian area, especially in Perth, where I believe you're from.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Australian Western, we're live on our Facebook page as well. Thanks for the opportunity for the plug, Sperry. But this battle for fourth and fifth, eking out to 0.4 now that Cooper Webster has over Ethan Warren. So gaining a little bit of an edge in these last couple of laps. Look at how close he's getting to the wall there. He's really pushing it.
Well, they are pushing, and they've only got 4 laps to go. If they are going to push, they are going to start changing positions. They're thinking about, well, is it worth going out there and making a move? Ethan Grigault in the same place here, fighting with Brenton Hobson. Is it worth me going for that 6th place? I came a cropper last time I tried to go for it on the final few laps. Maybe it's not wise for me to do so again.
Yeah, wouldn't be wise, because there's a lot of places around this track where a move is only half possible, like down there at the chute that we see these guys going through at the moment. This is the fight between Brenton Hobson and Ethan Grigault for position 6. The Eggman looking to recover from that drive-through penalty. Another damage limitation race just like Montreal.
Same could be said, though, for James Scott, who's down there in 10th place. He's got Thomas Hinz and now Sam Sutton behind as well. So this is even worse. There's more vehicles being added to the fray, more opportunities to lose more positions right now. And Hinzy's got a fantastic run through the S's. I think he may have a look here if he wants to. Oh, he's running out of road if he's going to try and close it down. I think that's going to be a checkup he didn't want to try and do. I think that's cost him his run here. Down on the brakes, down for the inside. He's looking for it. Oh, he's going to give him the push, and he's going to try and give him the pass. He's not going to get it, but he's going to keep trying here towards turn 1.
Hinzy's mid-corner grip is insane. You know, you could see how much he gained through the mid-corner in the S's. Those fast turns really suiting the Ra2 Mustang. He's just looking to stay behind for now into turn 1. It looks like it might be into the hairpin that is Hinzy's best chance, but like you said, it all depends on that run out of the S's.
Cooper Webster did have a big gap coming over the start-finish line, but it's been all eradicated now by Ethan Warren. He had 0.7 of a second. He now does not have 0.7 of a second anymore. 2 laps to go. Popsicle sticks to the air when they cross the line. Forzan El Nabi is now doing what he does best in the clutch laps, just slowly breaking the spirit of Andrew Gilliam. He's let him get within a second, and he said, you know what? I'm just going to extend that gap by a 10th each lap, but he did drop the 10th last time. Gilliam has not given up.
No, and that's one thing you can always say about Andrew Gilliam. He never gives up. Neither does El Nabi, for that matter. So it's going to be an interesting matchup between these guys at the front of the field if they end up coming together. There's only 1.5 laps to go as James Scott and Thomas Hinds getting together there with the synergy, the one performance car, sorry, of Sam Sutton. He's getting involved in this fight as well as Hindsy's starting to lose ground to Scott.
He is, and that is going to be key. So Sam Sutton will want to pick up a position if he possibly can. Same can be said for Ethan Grigault. He will want to pick up a position if he possibly can. Ethan Warren, desperate to find one more to get to 4th place for Altus. Cannot get it done on the former team as they look to try and make the push through the S's section before one white flag will come out for the leaders. And look at the traffic that Forzan El Nabi and co are encroaching upon. Ackland, Ross, Linsell, Feigl, Coxhead, they probably won't reach any of it before they get to the end, but they've got to be careful about it. Defended as well was Cooper Webster. The white flag comes out for Forzan El Nabi. Ethan Grigault not close enough to get past Brenton Hobson that time by, and Hobson gets a good run off of the exit. He won't be too worried. Thomas Hinds, though, he's looking like he's under pressure right now, as there is going to be the pass down the inside of James Scott. He's going to come straight back, though, and maybe, just maybe, Sam Sutton might have one in the mixer as well. He's not going to find one. He's going to have to wait behind here as they go through turn 1, go through turn 2, as they look to go forward, and Gilliam sliding through turn 6, knows that he's going to be running out of time now, and suddenly that gap ever so slightly improving. Webster under pressure now. Ethan Warren looking everywhere. Side by side. Taliancic is coming back at Ethan Grigault. Where did that come from? Big lunge down to the inside. He's trying to find that move. Over the curb. Not going to find it. Forzan El Nabi, though, has survived the gauntlet again. If he's good on the brakes through the final corner, no worries as he goes through here. Diamonds it off nicely and go back to back. Forzan El Nabi does the double here at Sonoma.
Andrew Gilliam coming home just 0.5 of a second behind in 2nd place. If that race was about 10 laps longer, what would have happened? Haber holds on for another excellent podium. Cooper Webster managing to hold off Ethan Warren for 4th place and slowing across the line. Is he out of fuel, I wonder?
Well, it won't matter too much because he was choking over the line, but it was just not enough. He was perfect there as, oh my word, I've just seen the biggest jump ever happen there down at turn 2. But either way, some brilliant racing throughout, I think, for a lot of drivers here today. I think the final few are coming across over the line. Wayne Burke, I believe, has just made it over, with Ryan O'Sullivan leading likes of Dyson and Rizzo over the line with the final few drivers. Brett Loxton, I think, may be out of fuel. Brett Loxton is out of fuel.
Oh, that's a big shame for him right at the end. I mean, this is one of those tracks that you can attempt such a strategy at, but not working out for Loxton there, giving up the position to Simon Feigl, and it looks like he's going to come home in 28th position.
That's if he makes it, because it is uphill. And that's going to be an issue here. 40 kilometers an hour right now. Clutch it as much as you can, Brett. I'm not sure what you can do here at this situation. He's got to try and keep the car as straight as possible to get himself over the line. Chris Coxhead and co.
He's got it.
All coming down onto the lane. 30k now. And this is the case of, well, can the Tortoise make it over the line? For the moment, 25k. I reckon he does. I reckon he does by not much.
Yeah, well, just crawling across the line there.
He's going to be out of time.
Is Brett Loxton. Oh, just manages to get across. I think he just got away with it there. So Brett Loxton is classified. Oh, what a relief.
Just classified, and we're talking about you've got an X amount of time since the driver comes over the line. He was right on 0 seconds as he crossed the line. That's how close it was. Official classified results then, they will be as follows. Forzan El Nabi does the double here in 51 minutes and 44 seconds. His margin of victory, half a second in the end, over Andrew Gilliam, who pushed him all the way. Harley Haber picks up back-to-back podiums with 2 third-place finishes for the new team, with Cooper Webster 4th, running out of fuel over the line ahead of Ethan Warren. Brenton Hobson gets the meme. It's 6th position for him, and he said it would be a good omen. 6th in pre-qualifying. It's a good omen. He got 6th in the race. It's going to be Ethan Griggolt who gets 7th. Michael Taliancic in 8th, tried to find one more place. Brad Ryan up into 9th overall. Thomas Hinds rounded the top 10.
Coming home in 11th, just behind, was Sam Sutton, and our round 1 winner, James Scott, coming home in what would be a disappointing 12th place for him. Michael Cracknell coming home, lucky 13th from outside the top 20. Jake Maloney, all the way from the back of the grid to 14th place, and even leading a couple of laps there. It was an excellent drive there from Maloney. Wayne Burt coming home in 15th. Damian Johnstone makes it to a top 16 for himself. Jake Blackhall, Ryan O'Sullivan, 17th and 18th. Our split 2 winner, Andrew Dyson, only coming home 19th after a very violent Sunday night. And Ross Rizzo rounding out the top 20.
Adam Blocker becomes the blackjack driver in 21st, with Riley Blythe 22nd. Kenneth Latter and Daniel Ackland 23rd and 24th, with Jordan Ross, Sean Linsdale, Simon Feigl, and only just classified Brett Loxton in 28th place. Then you've got Griffin Gardner in 29th, who is 1 lap down, and we're starting to hit 1 lap down and retirement central here today, because you've got the likes of Adam Briggs, who only gets 30th.
And behind him in the timesheets, Corey Preston, a lap down. It was a substandard event for him as well. Ian Bird comes home a lap down as well. Tom Freer, 2 laps down. Chris Coxhead, 3 laps down. And then we get into retirement territory. First of all, Brady Myers. What could have happened to him had he not had that crash on the run up to the hairpin? He was in for a top 10, but he'll have to settle for retirement here. Jordan Caruso as well, 17 laps down in 36, started in 6th place. He'll be looking for better days ahead. Danny Davison, Bradley Ratu, Jamie Stovold, and Benjamin Smith rounding out your podium. Benjamin, once again, not making it past lap 1.
I wouldn't have said 40th position was a podium, but it does round out the field. But brilliant racing up and down it, and you cannot argue against that one at all. We're going to move straight, though, to post-race interviews. Forzan Elnabi joins us here in the commentary box right now. Forzan, back-to-back victories. It's been a case of you haven't really had much success over the last couple of years with dominant drivers in and around, but a new team, a new vision, and you've got the best start possible with a back-to-back victories here today at Sonoma.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I thought the setup that the boys gave me was really good, and yeah, I just like to thank all the boys at United. I mean, I haven't been particularly driving quite well recently, and for them to give me an opportunity and for me to pay it back to them it's really satisfying, and I just hope I could continue to get more decent results for them all.
Well, let's talk about the opening race then, because it seemed like it was a race of attrition. Someone would have to make a mistake somewhere, and it looked like with about 4 laps to go, it would have been you. The tyres started giving up, it seemed, from our end, but it seemed you just managed to find something in the final 4 laps to pull away back to a second again.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great battle with Ethan. I mean, he bumped me a few times, but he gave the spot back to me as well. So yeah, that's why I like racing guys like Ethan. He races hard, but he races fair as well. And I just enjoy the battle a lot. It's actually just really good to be out there again. Really good to be competitive, and to get 2 race victories is really good. It's really nice. But yeah, just to be out there again racing V8SCOPS is really good.
And, well, to be really good, you have to talk about as well what happened in that 3rd race. You saw, or 2nd race even, you saw in front of you what happened between one Danny Davison and another Ethan Griggolt, and it seemed like Christmas came for you a little bit late, but you'd be very happy with the present that you got given. In terms of how that factored into the way things were run, it seemed that looking behind you, Andrew Gilliam was coming in at a rate of knots. Was it a case of just hold on and hope that you've still got enough?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really spent much time with this new car, so haven't really experimented on the long runs as much. And guys like Andrew and them, they've been racing a lot. And yeah, for me, it's just about getting back into it and getting seat time again and learning more about the car. And yeah, as well. I think even with a new team as well, I have to learn to drive different kinds of setups and stuff. So yeah, it's just all it's a fresh start again. So I've been looking forward to doing well.
Well, we wish you all the very best, but before we let you go, Forzan, shout out sponsors who gets it done for you for your 2 race victories here tonight.
Yeah, just big shout out to all the boys at United Sim Sports, and thanks to Jared as well for spotting me, and just yeah, big thanks to Jamie for taking me on, and yeah, I just like to pay him back a lot, and just our sponsors: Valvoline, Too Easy Finance, Western Mazda, and Knight Rider Designs, and yeah, I just like to thank all the guys at OSR and Race Control as well for doing their job for us as well, and you boys in the commentary box.
Always very humble. Forzan El Nabi picks up the race victory. Second position, though, went to Andrew Gilliam in that second race. He stood by with Reese Gardner.
He certainly is. Welcome to the commentary box, Andrew Gilliam, and finally a top split podium for you in Scops, but it didn't come easy, particularly in race 1.
Yeah, I'm elated. I'm just absolutely elated. We've worked so hard, and finally we got a first podium. Oh, I'm just so relieved, but excited at the same time. I'm just ecstatic.
You've been knocking at the door for a while, Andrew, so it must be a big weight off your shoulders to finally get this second place here at Sonoma. But we'll cast our minds back a short while before to race 1. Certainly did not go your way despite an excellent qualifying.
Yeah, qualifying was stellar. Like, I just that the car was just perfect. I could just drive it exactly the same every flying lap, and yeah, it was just epic. And I was feeling really confident in one lap pace coming into this event, and yeah, and just I just struggled really hard with the cold tires. Like, even similar mistake um, at the start of the second race, and gave up a couple spots. But yeah, I was a bit weak while the tires were warming up, and I just tried to slot in behind Haber, and all of a sudden, like, bam, and it was all over.
Well, an unfortunate race 1 result for you, but certainly paid back in race 2. We did talk to Forzan El Nabi about his view on the position 1 battle after Ethan Grigolt's drive-through penalty. What was your perspective of it? Did you feel like you could grab it?
I feel like if I was close and I didn't have to use as much tire to catch him, I feel like I could have. Gardner being right on my rear wing for most of that stint hurt my rear tires a little bit. But yeah, Forzen just drove like with such steely resolve. I couldn't crack him. When I even got under his wing a couple times, he still was able to pull away. He even made a few little slight rear lockups into some corners and still got a good drive. So absolutely hands down, congrats to him. He drove perfectly, and I just couldn't get to him. So yeah, I feel like he definitely had it in this race.
Well, for you guys at Pursuit, it was a very successful outing. Michael Taliancic in the top 10 as well, and Tom Freer showing some great pace as well. Certainly, last season, Pursuit got up there a few times in V8SCOPS, but the story for 2020 might be a little different. You guys looking to get up to the top more consistently now?
Yeah, absolutely. We've enlisted the expertise of a few more really talented drivers, and we're all working really hard. Like this week, we started as early as Monday night to start putting these setups and laps together, and the results show. So yeah, we're definitely in for a great 2020. Just the teamwork and yeah, just everything's fallen together now. We're ready to fight on.
And who gets it done for you to note things off here for Pursuit Sim Racing? Shout outs and sponsors.
Love to give a massive shout out to Track Racer and MXTV, always sponsoring us and always supporting us. So thank you very much, guys. And love to give a massive shout out to the team once again. Like, we've been hammering this track for 6 days straight now, and the results show. So just epic. It's an epic result for the team as well. Just can't thank them enough.
Thank you very much for joining us, Andrew Gilliam. Finally getting that top split podium in V8SCOPS. The champagne will be flowing tonight in the Pursuit Sim Racing Garage. But Sperry, we do have one more guy to talk to tonight, and that is our third place guy, Harley Haber.
It certainly is, and well, Harley, it's two third-place finishes. They are two very important third-place finishes, especially with a few haters out there who thinks that you don't amount to very much in terms of being a sim racer. And on top of that as well, the fact that after round one, things didn't eventually end the way that you would have liked them to.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. So very happy with the result tonight. Obviously, new team, new environment, and new setup direction, new engineer, all everything very new. So it's been really good, throughout the last couple 3 days to get into the new team and just settle in and obviously do my best tonight. And obviously, yeah, third and I think second for the round overall, which is really good.
Well, it's really good. And let's talk about actually that move to a new team because it came pretty much out of left field in terms of how that worked around you. You'd had a lot of responsibilities within Mark 1 as the star driver. It seemed like your relationship with Mark Samuel was very good and very healthy. What prompted the change and prompted the sudden switch to the new team?
It's funny. It's as you said, mate. I wouldn't class it as me being the star driver at Mac One. The other boys do a really great job there as well. But the relationship between us all was really good, and it still is between me and Mark. So there was nothing that was malicious or bad within the team that caused the change. But Jamie pretty much said, "Hey, man, I've got this going on, and do you want to be a part of it?" And it's an opportunity that once it arises, it's so difficult to turn down and say no, especially when I've got the data from some of the best guys in Australian sim racing there to compare against, and obviously I want to be the best that there is. I want to compare against myself against these guys and work towards bettering myself as a driver to compete at the front of this series. So I think they definitely gave me the best opportunity to do that, and yeah, at the end of the day, that was what prompted the switch.
In terms of how the races were run, it seemed like there were two drivers up top each race that seemed to be the best, and you were very much leading home the rest. Was it a case of just the pace was just that little bit too far, especially as well in the second race, knowing that you took 2 extra seconds longer in the pit stop?
Yeah, mate, I've still got a little bit to work on myself. Obviously, in terms of driving the car and between me and Forzen, obviously, yeah, there was a little bit of a pace difference. Just over what a race stint, it was a little bit quicker. That was definitely more prominent in the first race. But between the first and the second race, Dean was able to tune the car up a little bit for me, and from there, obviously, we had a lot better pace in the second race. Not necessarily enough to win, but obviously, yeah, still a great effort from the guys.
Let's talk 3 weeks' time, Harley. We've got Sebring coming up. It's a reverse sprint as well. A track which you have found very, very good success at over the last couple of years. Do you feel like Sebring's going to be a place where you can kick on from what has been a very good platform built here today at Sonoma?
Yeah, I think so. I think, as you said, obviously I've won the last two AOSC races there, 2 years in a row, and necessarily I don't think I have the outright one lap pace there, but obviously, yeah, we'll work towards everything on the car and get that all dialed in for Sebring, and I'll put in the hard yards behind the scenes to make sure that I'm on the pace.
And talking about hard yards behind the scenes, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you?
Yeah, of course. So obviously the team, United Sim Sports, Jamie, I've got to give a special thanks to him for the opportunity to come across, all the hard work that Dean and Jared have done as well throughout the week, and obviously helping me throughout the race. As for the sponsors, Valvoline, quite a cool company to have on board representing us, and obviously Ezy Finance, West End Mazda, and Parramatta Isuzu Ute.
Well, no worries at all. Harley Haber, very happy with a third place finish overall. Reese, the curtain closes here at Sonoma, but of course, there is so much action that goes on throughout a week. Week 13 comes up. That's always going to be very fun in terms of what SimSpeed does. SimSpeed always has a little something, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that we always tend to do, Reese. But on top of that, though, 3 weeks before we get ourselves to Sebring.
Yes, indeed. So this Saturday night, Australian time, Max Bantz number 9. A nice fun event to just kick things off for week 13 and the season to come. We hope you join us for that. And Sebring in 3 weeks' time. It's a track that has been massive in Australian touring car racing. For the longest time we used the club layout, then we switched to the full endurance layout, and just every race we've had there has been a cracker. I cannot wait to see them pounding over that rough concrete.
Well, concrete aside, concrete to asphalt to concrete again. Always going to be a tough challenge at the bumpiest circuit in all of sim racing. But of course, a massive shout out for those who get it done for us. on the iRacing Esports Network, a presentation by SimSpeed TV. To Motum Simulations, who help with the replays which you have seen time and time again over these broadcasts. To Jay Kennedy, who has been there on the cameras for us. Of course, to Reese Gardner, who has been ever faithful over this, along with Ryan Jones, who stepped in for the opening couple of minutes of this broadcast. Well, I forgot that I fell asleep with about 15 minutes before I was supposed to get up. But on top of that, of course, I have been Jake Sperry, and this has been magical at Sonoma. It produces great racing again and again. It may be 2 race wins, but it's 2 very hard-earned race wins for Forza and El Nabi. Rivals around made mistakes today. They knew they needed to get something, and they couldn't quite deliver. El Nabi shines as the new team is united. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time, of course, at Sebring.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
This is very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god! God, what?